Welcome back to another edition of the Rodcast. We like to call it the Hump Day edition of the Rodcast, getting you over the hump, headed downhill to the weekend. And yes, a weekend where we can talk about football. Officially, it is here. Hallelujah. The Longhorns are actually practicing today. So we'll talk a lot of Longhorn football. Of course, we'll talk some NFL as well. You got training camps well underway. So we'll have training camp news, notes, and nuggets for the Cowboys and also for the Texans. We'll get into another signing that happened at a certain position that continues to balloon in value at the NFL level. We'll also get into your Olympic update. We'll give you your gold medal update and your overall medal count in the Olympics. We'll also get into some coordinator audio. We heard from PK. We heard from Kyle Flood. We also heard from Jeff Banks yesterday. So we'll hear from them and also get into that audio. We'll do that momentarily, and that'll lead us into more Texas football conversation. Got college football news, notes, and nuggets to get to as well. We are jam-packed on the show, and you have plenty of football to discuss. My man Nick Shuli's coming up in the 9 o'clock with Setlist ATX. We'll discuss some more Dak disrespect out there. Is there Cowboys fatigue regionally, locally, and even nationally? We'll discuss that coming up a little bit later on. There's some watch lists also that have been released for the Outland Trophy, for the Maxwell Award, and also for the Nagurski Award. There's some Longhorns getting some love there, so we'll discuss that. So we are jam-packed on the show. Let's not waste any time before we get into all that. Let's introduce you to the rest of the crew, because he's one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. I'm not sure what he's paid, but I'm pretty damn sure that the man is underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. It's our friend, co-host, and neighbor. It's Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, Patrick? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. We are on the last day without football of the off season, and I know it's a Hall of Fame game. It's not much, but it is the last day. And you have to understand, for Rod and I, we started this show 5 months ago. There's not been one football game played in that 5 months.
Nope.
And so for us, we're quite thrilled that there's anything, and it means they're getting closer and closer, and training camps are open. Seeing, the coordinators come in yesterday, and then seeing all the pictures of all the players going to their camp for UT, and then seeing all the training camp updates. It's a good thing. It's a feel good moment.
I will say it's been good, though, because we've actually had, if Texas was like still average or mediocre, it would have been different, but Texas was good. So it was a short off season, it felt like, because, or made for me, because my teams were actually good. My football teams were good, which is rare.
Yes.
For the Texans and I don't think it's ever happened, actually, where the Texans and the Longhorns have both been good that season. I know, well, in fact, I know it's not that, because the Texans ain't been that good for that long period as an organization, and the Longhorns have had this, as we know, this underachieving decade and a half, pretty much, and now they come on top. So it's never happened. That's why the offseason actually felt short.
It did. It felt shorter than 5 months.
Short.
For sure.
It felt shorter than 5 months.
It felt shorter than 5 months, but it has been. But also, it's about time. It's about time for it to come back.
Damn right it is. Damn right it is.
I do agree with you. I think the dread of the season, where you're just looking, you're like, I don't know about that game. Who in that game too? Oh no, that game. I think that
we've
kind of
been there.
Yeah. The ones where you start doing your schedule game, and you start looking through, and you go, well, I mean, it's not fair that we have to play all the Big 12 teams. Like, couldn't we schedule? We schedule some other games,
and now we're talking about going to the SEC. They got a favorable schedule in the SEC. It's like, it's all about glass half full, man. Our the Longhorn glass is so half full right now. We can't even see a downside. We can't. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. I'll tell you whose glass is always half full. My co-host, he's a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is the new Rod father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
Appreciate the intro as always, and we'll get to tons of Texas football conversation. We got Texans and Cowboys training camp nuggets. My man Clarence Chill gives you an update on the CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott contract negotiations. We'll discuss, first of all, there's some Dak disrespect out there. It's been happening a little bit, even after his great season. Remember we talked about the Jeremy Fowler scouts, execs, and coaches, insiders poll that they did, and Dak was they were ranking every position, and Dak was number 10 among all the quarterbacks. And you can make that argument. Yesterday, you could argue we disrespected Dak because we had the conversation about, well, would you take Jared Goff or Dak? And you know what? The crazy part is the Dak disrespect. I don't know if they were just on the same track that we were on. I don't even know why they got into it. I think they were just ranking NFC quarterbacks, by the way. But they ended up in the same place we did.
Exactly. I saw. Yeah, it's
interesting. And I was like, "Holy mo! It's the same place we ended up having." I don't know how they got there. We got there through different ways, but still having the same conversation. So we'll get into that, whether that's Dak disrespect or not, and talk about is there Cowboys fatigue? We know there's a little bit locally and regionally, just because of the way the Cowboys handled the offseason and the way they continue to handle some of the contract disputes. But whether that's nationally, there are some insiders claiming there's some national Cowboys fatigue. So we'll get into that too coming up a little bit later on the show. We got your usual favorites. We got Rod's Rant. We got Who Said That. We got Off the Record. We got What the Facts, What the Stats. We are loaded on the show. So let's not waste any time because I want to get into this coordinator audio. We have audio from PK, from Kyle Flood, and from Jeff Banks. We only hear from them twice a year, before training camp and then after the season is over, or before the bowl game, I believe it is. That's usually the only times you get to hear from the coordinators under Steve Sarkisian. So it's actually pretty compelling stuff. So we'll get into that. But before we do, let's give you the updates and get you educated, updated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros dropped their third straight and second in their series with the Pirates 6-2 yesterday. Hunter Brown pitched 5 2/3 innings, getting no help from the Astros defense, who had 3 errors in the game before allowing a 2-run homer to Michael Taylor to end his night. The Astros wrap up their series with the Pirates tonight with Framber Valdez on the mound. And the Rangers lost to the Cardinals 8-1 with Max Scherzer once again only lasting 4 innings, throwing just 68 pitches before being pulled due to arm fatigue. Cody Bradford, in his return from the injured list, allowed 5 runs in 2 innings, and the Rangers could not rally, their only run coming off a Wyatt Langford solo homer. The Rangers did add bullpen depth at the trade deadline, picking up left-handed reliever Andrew Chafin from the Tigers. They will look to win their series with the Cardinals today with Andrew Haney on the mound. And looking over at the Olympics, the official medal count as of right now, USA still leading the overall medal count with 26, but coming in 7th right now in gold medals with 4. They also have 11 silvers and 11 bronze, and that is your Horn Headlines.
Ooh, man, got to pick it up in the gold medal.
Yeah, the gold. We're a little light on the gold right now. The leader in gold, Japan and China both have 7. Japan. France, Great Britain, and Australia have 6, and Korea has 5. And so USA coming in 7th right now, but 26 is still the overall lead.
What matters more to you, Americans? This is what I need to know. What matters more to you? What matters more? Do you want the overall medal count, or do you want more goals? That should be the question. I need to know, because in my heart, I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one I want.
We all know. We want to win both. If we don't win either, it feels like a loss.
Okay. You're definitely gonna win one.
I get that. But am I wrong? Am I wrong that it feels like?
No, of course. I agree with you. But the only one challenging you close to for the overall medal count is France.
Yeah,
they're at 20. But I think that'll for I think America, you'll continue to get the overall medal count. I do. I think you'll win that. Now I'm saying comfortably, but I think you will win it. The gold. I don't know. I know you're right. You want to win both. Let's say you can't win both. Let's just say you're not going to win both. You don't get your cake, you need it too. Which one matters more to you?
I mean, because the reality is, one of the reasons USA can easily go well in the total medal count is because of the amount of people they get to send. Now, granted, China gets to send a ton of people too, but they send so many people that a lot of countries can't compete with the amount of events that they're in.
Can you afford to
to send everybody, train and qualify in all those? And so there's a lot to it. But yeah, I think, and especially seeing the discourse from other countries where if you see
what is that basically?
That basically American sites normally have the total medal count as who's ranked first because they know USA will be on top.
Yeah.
But international sites have the gold medal count as first so that somebody else will be on top.
Yeah, I got you.
And so you will see that the international debate is based, or not debate, but the conversation is, look at those Americans pretending that total medal count matters more than the golds. Look at us. We have more golds, especially Australia. Australia seems very big on the fact that they are beating us in the golds right now.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I want to know from Americans. Like, I need to know. Like, I need to know what matters more to you. It feels like the gold is the playoffs.
Yeah,
it feels like to me we're being, kind of like the Cowboys here, man. We're celebrating the 12 wins, and we're celebrating we got more All Pros than y'all. Okay, yeah, you got more All Pros than everybody else in the league. You make more money than everybody else in the league. You get more headlines. You get higher TV ratings. Everybody wants to watch you. Yes, celebrating those things, but that's the style. The gold medal is the substance. That seems like to me that's the playoff wins. That's the postseason wins. And I don't know. I feel a little bit icky and having this take.
No, look, they're still coming.
It doesn't feel patriotic having this take.
It's still coming.
But doesn't it feel like we're the Cowboys right now? Doesn't it feel like that?
It does, but I will say I don't think we've gotten to track and field yet.
No, I said we still got a lot of great sports.
So there's still a lot to go. So track and field is coming. That'll be where U.S. starts to take a lead on some of these other people. And so, but right now, I know early on, and then we still have breakdancing. So, I mean, that's really.
Oh man, no, I just, like I said, it feels very Cowboys like. You must admit.
Yeah,
we're celebrating them regular season wins and like we're balling.
No, that's the list I look at is the official Olympics list, and they ranked USA at 7th. So the international list usually has they rank it down goal. But if you go and look at some American sites, they will rank it by overall, so that US will be first.
Yeah, I got to do some research about this. I'm gonna try to do some research.
Usually,
my research is basically gonna be how often did we win? We basically win the medal count every year.
Yeah,
the overall, not every year, but every Summer Olympics. Yeah. I'm assuming we win the overall medal.
I'm assuming so too. But then again, that's a pretty American thing to think too, isn't it?
That is true.
I assume so.
I'm assuming we win it every year. I mean, that's a great point. I need to do some research before I start spouting off nonsense like that. Because you're right, that may not be the case, and I apologize for that. But I don't know. I thought about that last night when I was listening to some of the coverage. And they would talk about the overall medal count. I'm like, I don't think I care about the medal count as much.
I do, because here's the deal.
If you win it every year, it's not.
But that's my point. But it's like Team USA basketball. If one year we don't win it and we win all the golds, I'm still going to be not happy with it.
That's so American.
I want it all. I want to have the most. Yeah, you want it all.
You're gonna find a reason to be upset. Yes. You're gonna find a reason to be upset with this. To find a reason to debate it. But that's kind of what we do. That's what makes us a great country. All right, I'll do. It's like
a college football season. You win a national championship, but you have a loss. You allow one person to sit there and talk trash for a long time, because that one person's like, "Well, we beat you." So we beat the national champions. So you just go, you want the undefeated season. You want to take everything and just say, we got it.
I mean, we won 12 games last year. You listen to some of Roger rants, my rants of the day, and you be like, hold up, did they win the conference? What's going on here? Because talking about red zone offense and pass defense. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the nature of the American, I say the American sports fan and the American sports culture. We want to get into a debate about it. Like, I say enough to just enjoy the experience. Like, all right, now I've enjoyed the experience. What's the opposing opinion about this? Which I appreciate it. That's basic. Like I said, I feel like we as Americans, we've kind of become the Cowboys when it comes to the Olympics. Like, we're celebrating some of the things that may not matter as much, just to make ourselves feel good. But I want the gold, baby. But I want it all. Patrick's right. I want it all. All right, we'll get into that a little bit later on. I just had that throw out that question. Okay, whatever we don't get to, we'll kind of throw into the behind the burn orange curtain segment and get to some of this coordinated audio. So let's start with Kyle Flood. Can we start with the Kyle Flood stuff here, Patrick? Got a few Kyle Flood cuts, and I actually love when Kyle Flood comes to the mic, because I think he gives you a lot of meat. It doesn't really, and none of these coordinators do, and maybe that's why Sark doesn't want them out there much, because they don't really dabble, they don't really beat around the bush. They just kind of give it to you straight. So the first question that Kyle Flood was asked about was the offensive line and the depth and the situation overall. right? Like, what's the depth? How many guys you're going to have in rotation? Here's what Kyle Flood had to say. The first cut here, Patrick. The first, he had to say about the overall kind of health and status of the offensive line.
Sure, we've got a lot of guys back. Only Christian, obviously, has moved on to the NFL. So this is a rare year. I've had this situation a couple times, and as a coach, it's always like a really enjoyable situation to be in. When now going into my fourth year here, working with these players, the number of starts returning, I think all those things raise the bar and raise expectations, to play at a really high level. And I think like those kind of expectations are a privilege. You have to earn those expectations. And I think these guys have, and I think they've got high expectations of themselves as well. So we've got high standards in that room, as a position group. And, we're looking forward to the next month of trying to make sure that we do everything we need to do to get ready for the season, not just with, I think, 5, but I think you're really looking at more like 6, 7, 8, linemen contributing, on a regular basis. I know Sark has talked about this, the potential length of the season and the need to build depth. And the best way to build depth is to play. So, we've got, 7, 8 offensive linemen coming back that have played in games real time in competitive situations. And I think, the more we can build on that, the stronger football team and stronger unit will be.
There you go. 7 to 8 guys. That's what you want, because knock on wood, you could have injuries. You have injuries in those situations. You want to have guys that that have starter capability and he's got those kind of guys. He also was asked about, since he's the offensive coordinator, we ask him a lot of O-line questions, but he is the OC. And he was asked, I believe it might have been Kirk Bosa asked him, are you going to lean on the run early on in the season while you establish chemistry with all the new wide receivers you're bringing in, while you give the passing game time to find its groove? Here's what Kyle Flood had to say.
I don't think we look at it like that. And I've, Sark and I now, we're going into our 8th year together. I don't think we've ever really looked at it like that. And I don't think he calls the game like that. I think for us, we always strive to be balanced. And we've got, even though we don't have the returning starts necessarily here at Texas for that position group that we do at some other positions, we got a lot of confidence in that receiver room. I think I was looking at it this morning before I came in here. We've got, I think, 9 receivers who are ultimately going to take reps with the 1s and 2s this training camp. And we haven't been anything near that in the 3 previous years that we've been here. So it's a talented room. Coach Jackson's had a good offseason with those guys. And I think as we get closer to the first game, a month from now, we're going to have plenty of confidence to go in the game to try to be as balanced like we always do.
So he said 9, as many as 9 wide receivers in the 2 deep. Okay, so let's go through it here real quick. Got Bond, Golden, Bolden. You got Cook. You got Moore. You got Wingo. Man, I guess maybe a Parker Livingston or Ryan Niblett thrown in there too. I'm just trying to think of.
Yeah, I've heard Niblett's name thrown around a few times.
Ryan Niblett,
especially a speed guy.
There. Yep, that makes sense. Maybe a Parker Livingstone, one of the youngsters they brought in. What's they got? Aaron Butler, they brought him in. I mean, that's deep. If he's talking about that's in the 2 deep though. That doesn't mean you're going to be in the circle of trust I talk about, right? That's going to be a smaller group. Okay, so he also was asked about pass protection and the running backs, and this new group of running backs. Obviously, Jaden Blue and Cedric Baxter been asked about their role in pass protection. Is that something of concern? Here is what Kyle Flood had to say in response.
I think for running backs, experience. There's no substitute for experience when it comes to pass protection. And I'll say something that I apologize that I know I've said this before to you guys. Working with a running back coach who played in the NFL is the best thing that happens to somebody who coaches the offensive line, because there's such an emphasis in that league on pass protection and making sure that the quarterback stays clean, that it becomes an emphasis in that room for Coach Choice. And he does a phenomenal job. So there are certain times of the offseason where we can do walkthroughs and things like that, where we try to take advantage of that. And I think the way our practice schedule is laid out by Sark, we get a lot of opportunities to block blitzes in practice. So I think the experience of those backs of going through it every day in training camp is going to be the best teacher they can have. They've done a good job digging in on what you can in the offseason, but it's much different when it's full speed with a real defense, and you can only get that in training camp.
So there you go. Yeah, that's a great point that he brings up about the NFL, because the value of the quarterback position, that is why there's so much emphasis put on the pass protection overall, because of the value and the fragility of the quarterback position overall. So I like the way you put that. Also, he was asked about the running back, position, the combo of CJ Baxter and Jaden Blue, and how much of the running game and the identity of the running game is going to be built around just those two guys. A little surprise here. He throws in another name that I think Longhorn fans are going to be a little surprised, but pleasantly surprised to hear. Here's Kyle Flood.
Oh, I think both those guys are proven commodities. I expect both of them to play quite a bit, and I wouldn't, I wouldn't say just two either, because I think Trey Wisner's had a great offseason, and he's one of the guys I'm really excited to see this training camp.
Boom! Trey Wisner's name coming up again, unsolicited. That's always good. So Trey Wisner seems like he's going to take on the role of, at least within the offense, of being what Keelan Robinson was, just kind of a change of pace guy. You'll have your two main, backs. You'll have CJ Baxter and you'll have Jaden Blue. Those will be your two kind of workhorses. But then as a change of pace, and even when you come into some of those 3-back sets, you'll bring in a Trey Wisner, and he's got, I think, a different skill set. So that's interesting that they've been talking about him since the spring. They talked about him obviously here in training camp, and I've been on the bandwagon, you guys know, on that soapbox for a long time, that they need to play more multiple back sets and more 21 personnel, more pony package, as they call it. It is the most explosive and most efficient, and honestly, most effective overall personnel grouping they use. When they use it, they don't use it enough. I think they should use it more, and maybe we're gonna get in that situation. I think now with this group of backs, maybe they'll use it a little bit more than they have in the past. But there's no doubt, even in that bowl game, you guys know they were averaging 10 yards per play out of the pony package, and for some reason only ran it 9 plays. All right, I digress. Getting back to it, here is the next cut. Here is Kyle Flood being asked about the goal of the offense overall. Like, what are your goals on the offense? Listen to Kyle Flood's response.
We want to be the most explosive offense in the country. I think that's the goal of ours every year. What does that look like? Is it pass? Is it run? Is it screens? For us in our offense, it really should be all three of those. There's a balance and a complexness to what we present that I think is really important to the success of this offense.
There you go. So they want to be the most explosive offense in the country. Based on Pro Football Focus numbers, and I know, take it with a grain of salt. I know some people are like, Pro Football Focus are really inconsistent. I get it, but they do deep dive stuff, and they're pretty credible. The explosive run play rate of Texas last year was 19.7%. Explosive pass play rate was 16.8%. All right, so you're probably, I guess, if you probably want to look at your explosive play rate overall, it's probably somewhere in between, right? It's probably somewhere in between 17% and 19%. You might be 18%, whatever it is, right? I haven't done it, but that's Pro Football Focus numbers. When I calculate explosive play rate, when I'm looking at different personnel groupings, I'm looking for explosive play rates that are basically 20+%, because that would mean you're talking about a disproportionately higher rate of explosivity with those personnel groupings. And you have that with your 21 personnel, your pony package. You're at 21, last year's 21 and 23% explosive play rate. You also have that, if you start looking at it in some of your formations, you have that. You go look at empty formation. Last year, at least the last 3 games of the season, and that includes the Washington game, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech, your explosive play rate, you're around 30%, close to 30% explosive rate in those last 3 games in empty formation. Now, does that translate to the entire season? I think it would. In 2022, out of empty formation, you were at over 20% explosive play rate, 22% explosive play rate. You go look at your 6-0 line package, For your 6-0 line package last year, you were around explosive play rate around 18. But your explosive, that's overall explosive play rate. Your explosive pass play rate was around 25%. So there are different elements, right, of these personnel groupings, because when you went 6-0 line package, when you went with your Big 11, Big 12, teams would counter by going with a heavier defense, probably more linebackers, more defensive linemen, because Texas has so much mass and girth out there with 6 offensive linemen. They surely want to run the ball and impose their will and play bully ball. Actually, no. Texas would use that as insulation for pass protection, and they would go straight drop back, max protect, and send 2-man routes downfield and give Quinn and X-Man more time to just outrun the defense or run some of those deep curls downfield, like 18 yards downfield. So they would basically use it to run these really, really long developing routes, insulated pass protection with the play action. But defense is when you present them with power personnel. All right, you can always pivot to play action pass principles because they're going to naturally counter with heavier personnel because they think you're going to run the ball. And if they don't counter with heavier personnel, then run the ball. You got 6-0 linemen out there. You should be able to impose your will on a sub package, i.e. Dan Quinn. Right, when he wants to run those dime packages and teams decide, you know what, let's just go power football at him. He's gonna have all those DBs out there. I would love a lineman to get matched up on a DB, and that would happen if you have those kind of sub packages. So that's why I think, Texas, you're looking at if he wants to be more explosive, he wants to be the most explosive offense in the country, you have to have variety. You have to. That variety, those are among your most explosive personnel groupings, is when you get in more exotic, and they're not even really exotic, they're just non-traditional by today's standards personnel groupings, 2-back sets. Remember, Nick Saban said I would go off things that give Nick Saban problems. Nick Saban said he didn't like 2-back sets because they don't practice against him a lot. He said his team didn't even know how to line up against I formation. They had to call a timeout one game. He's like, my guys don't see it. They don't even know how to defend it. Okay, I would use more of that. He also talk about the compressed sets and the reduced splits. He said that's why he didn't like going up against Sark offenses. Well, that means in the SEC they don't see it a lot. I would run a lot of it in the SEC. Your empty formations, like I said last year, you killed it in empty formation. Should have ran more of it against Washington. Washington couldn't stop it. 2 years, by the way, back to back. In 2 years against Washington, they could not stop empty formation. They really could. It's unbelievable how effective Texas was in that empty formation against Washington. Here it is. Against Washington, against Washington, you were 7 of 8. Throwing the ball out of empty formation. I think that Sark's to be an extremist at times when it comes to some of these. He's a moderate and he likes balance, but sometimes you need to be an extremist with some ideas and some concepts because, like I said, they have a disproportionate amount of explosivity and success rate and higher success rates. All right, we come back. We'll hear from PK. PK, defensive coordinator. We don't hear from him often. He gets into a lot of different things. Talk about Johnny Nance's influence, Anthony Hill, Janae Barron. We'll dive into that when we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Mahone. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get back to some of the coordinator audio. I'm going to jump to the defensive side of things now. PK had a lot to say yesterday to the media, so I want to go over some of these cuts. And I thought PK probably revealed more than any of the coordinators, actually, and even more so than Kyle Flood, just giving you insight into what the thought process was behind some of the moves that they're making and some of the actual strategic things that the defense is hoping to achieve, or at least that they're actually this offseason focusing on and emphasizing. So first, let's look at the question was the goals of the defense. What are the overall goals of the defense this year? Because last year their goals were more takeaways, more sacks, better third down defense, better situational defense, and they actually improved. You could argue that Texas met all their goals defensively last year, at least the ones that PK mentioned before the season started. Here's PK talking about the goals for this specific season.
Well, those we got to keep. We got better at those, and we got to keep that up. We were really good on third down. Got better affecting the quarterback. Sack numbers went up. The big emphasis this year is the fundamentals of football, right? Block destruction across the board. DBs, linebackers, D-line, they do that all the time. Creating turnovers, creating fumbles. That's an emphasis. I think we got 16 or so picks last year, which is pretty good. And just like to get some more production as far as punching the ball out. And then tackling. We did a little study, and we did a lot better job. We did a pretty good job. It was like 80% tackling success. If we can just bump that up, 5%. A lot of those pass yards that we gave up would go down because of missed tackles. But as a whole, we did a pretty good job of that. But like everything, every year, you're always trying to find that little bit extra, a little slight edge that's gonna take you over the hump.
All right, there's PK talking about the overall goals of the defense. If they're going to meet those goals, Anthony Hill is going to be a big part of it. And he has a plan for Anthony Hill, and he finally revealed it. Here's PK talking about Anthony Hill making the move inside back to a middle linebacker.
Well, that's his natural position. Yeah, that's his natural position. We put him off the edge last year, just, as a freshman, just a little bit less thinking, just go and play ball, and, you saw him do that, making some big plays in games, just rushing the passer and playing defensive end. But his natural position is inside linebacker. And so, moving him into that Jalen Ford role, and then, we do a pretty good job of moving those guys around. So you're still going to see him off the edge doing some different things that way. But he just has a nose for the ball. I joked with him last year during the offseason. You're a hell of a linebacker. You're a hell of a football player, but you're not a very good linebacker. And it was a compliment because he has a nose for the ball. He makes plays. But like the details of playing linebacker, he needed to get better at. Yeah, he has.
I like the way you put that, actually. It is a compliment because it's saying right now you're out there just going on just raw instinct and skill, and you haven't even refined or cultivated your craft yet. And that's how you still can start at the University of Texas. Like that. That's how high your ceiling is. You did, and I'm sure that's like you watch a lot of NBA. I'm sure some basketball players like that. This dude's going off just raw talent.
Oh yeah,
he's not even like it's no skill, real. Like he's not a student of the game yet. He's not actually, actually right now thinking the game through. He's just going off instinct and skill, and that's really just how talented that young man is. Really high ceiling for Anthony Hill. Okay, there you go. So also I want to getting back to the cuts here, because PK has talked about Johnny, well, he's talked about Johnny Nansen before, and I didn't realize that him and Johnny Nansen go way, way back. Johnny Nansen, now the co-DC, keep that in mind. But of course, he's not the play caller. PK's the play caller. But Johnny Nansen coming from Arizona. Arizona had one of the best defenses in the country last season, and Johnny Nansen coming over. Here's PK when PK was asked, hey, what's going to be the influence of Johnny Nansen on this PK defense? Here's what PK had to say.
It's been great. We worked together at Montana State. I've known Johnny a long time, and he's been awesome. He's bringing in some stuff that he did at Arizona. It's going to help us, and he does a good job with his linebackers, and he's a good recruiter, and it's been awesome.
And he was asked, and the cut wasn't long enough, so I didn't want to get into it. I believe it was my man Ian Boyd over there inside Texas, who asked him, hey, are you going to run more single high safety? And I believe the quote is, let me make sure I get the quote. He said, there's no question there's a place for post defense, and we'll see. But there was some pauses in there. It was like 3-4 pauses, almost like he didn't want to reveal that was going to be a huge shift. Because I've told you, Texas plays match quarters, which a huge Gary Patterson influence. They play that at least they did last season, at a top 5 rate in the Power 5. It's kind of their bread and butter coverage. They're not even that great at it. But it's that they run it a lot, right? That's kind of what they want to be great at that. They also want to be great playing man-to-man, but that's hard too. Even the NFL is playing more and more zone coverage because the receivers are so freaky these days. And who's got 4 or 5 DBs that can match up against all your freaky receivers? You probably don't. So better to go zone coverage. But I digress. Getting back to it, and I think for Johnny Nance, I think they're gonna go more single high because that's your cover 3s, that's your cover 1s with a post safety he's referring to. And Johnny Nansen at Arizona, they ran single high safeties at more than any team in the Power 5. So that and PK ran more of it when he was on the West Coast too. Washington, he ran more of it. That was a Gary Patterson influence with the match quarters, giving PK a cheat code so that he could adapt to the ecosystem of the Big 12, which he was kind of shell-shocked by, as you guys remember, when his first season in the Big 12. And then basically Gary Patterson gave him the cliff notes of the conference. And like, dude, this is what you need. Just use this, play this coverage. Yeah, you won't be necessarily great at it, but it'll keep you from giving up big plays, and it's tougher for the offenses to adjust to it. You'll be fine. And that's kind of what they've been running since. So I think you're going to have another influence, a Johnny Nansen influence this time, where they're going to be running match quarters, but now you're going to get more single high, which is going to be your cover 3s, and you can match 3 as well. Matches when you turn in from a zone coverage to a man coverage, depending on the route combination. When the route declares itself, it goes from being a zone. I match it. I match that guy in my zone. I match him and become man coverage. That's what they call it, match. And so Johnny Nansen's influence could be more man coverage, which we know Sark wants to play, and then more of the match cover 3 along with the pattern match cover 4. So I think ultimately they want to be more diversified in their defenses. And you're going to start seeing, you're going to see more single high. I saw it even in a spring game. I think you're going to see it. Now, the key is who's going to be the single high safety? Who's your center fielder? Your center fielder should have range to go sideline to sideline and be able on those deep balls, post route, non-route, to be a factor. And also to influence the quarterback, almost to deter the quarterback sometimes from throwing those routes. Like, oh, hell no, that safety's back there. I got to go somewhere else. And so you got to be a deterrent, but also you got to be a major factor there in sideline to sideline those deep balls. I'm not sure. Is that Derek Williams? Derek Williams probably can do it. I'm not sure if it's Taft Daddy. Could be Taft Daddy. Right now, Derek Williams could be Makuba. One of those guys. That's going to be important if you're going to play a lot of single high. Okay, so that's the J. I didn't know they went back all the way to Montana State too. That's good to know. So they work well together. But you're going to see a lot of Johnny Nansen influence. You're going to see more run blitzes. You're going to see your stunts, your twists and stunts. I think that'll increase as well. I think you're also going to get more exotic looks. I've talked about this. Nobody had more matchup-based week-to-week looks than Arizona last year. I mean, they played every damn thing. They used a Joker package with 5 down linemen versus San Diego State. I saw that in 2022. They used a dollar package versus USC and Washington versus Michael Penix and versus Caleb Williams with just 3 down linemen and 7 DBs and a linebacker. I saw them in a flex alignment versus Washington State versus Oregon State. They played a 3-4, 4-2-5, even used a 3 high safety. They used a lot of different concepts. Texas is pretty traditional. I think you'll see more non-traditional looks with Johnny Nanson's influence. Pass defense. He was asked about pass defense, which last year was the biggest weakness on the team, arguably, definitely on the defensive side. Here is PK discussing the pass defense of Texas.
So we gave some yards, but we had the ball thrown on us third most in the country. All right. And so when teams throw the ball out, they're going to get yards. And so, yeah, we'd like to have those numbers down, but that's not the end all be all. And, our pass efficiency defense was 33rd in the nation, which is respectable, just being a little bit tighter in coverage, break on the ball a little bit better. So we're contesting some more throws and creating some more incompletions. How can we affect the quarterback? It doesn't always have to be sacks, but they got to feel us. We've got to be around. We got to make them uncomfortable with the rush. And then the other part of it is, being able to change up the pre-snap looks, right? Not just showing the shell that we're going to end up being in, trying to confuse quarterbacks that way.
So, yeah, I mean, he doesn't seem that concerned, but I think a lot of that is, like I said, Johnny Nansen coming in. He talked about pre-snap looks being different, trying to confuse quarterbacks. Nobody in the country was arguably better at that than Arizona's defense with Johnny Nansen. Like I said, they held Penix to and Penix was great, as we know, Longhorns fans. He didn't throw a touchdown against them. Caleb Williams at the time had his season low in terms of yards at the time. And Cam Ward was another quarterback they went up against. He had one of his worst games, if not his worst game of the season against him. He went up against some really good quarterbacks and used a lot of different packages and variety to confuse them. I think that's kind of what he's hinting at there. Okay, let's continue. We still got a little time. I want to get to this. This cut here is interesting because he reveals a lot. He was asked about the star position, which is their nickel position, their slot corner, which right now Jahdae Barron plays. Remember, I've been telling you though that they're really high on Jalen Gilbo, and if they trust Jalen Gilbo, it allows them to do more with Jahdae Barron. Here is PK.
What's between Jalen Gilbo, and Jahdae? We're going to play some. Jahdae's going to play some corner too. Gilbo's had an unbelievable, outstanding offseason. So getting him back to where he was, confidence-wise, his freshman year, I think we're starting to see that again. And so optimistic that either one of those guys is going to be good at that position. But if Gilbo can step up, then we can do some different things with Jahdae.
That you've heard that before. All right, so let's let him expand on that a little bit. Here's PK talking about Jahdae, and remember, also I told you that Gary Patterson, I believe, with my man Chip Brown, said he thought Jahdae Barron could be a safety in the Big 12. Played nickel, came in the game and saved you last season. Had a game-saving play against U of H. You might lose that game if not for Jahdae Barron coming off the bench because he was injured to save the day against U of H at the cornerback position, not at nickel. Here's PK expanding on the role potentially of Jahdae Barron.
No, I mean, we're always looking to try and get the best 11 on the field, and so to do that, you got to have competition, and then his ability to be able to play corner, safety, or star helps us, pushes other guys, and everybody wants to play. And so you got to show up day in and day out and prepare to the best of your ability. So I think he only helps that situation. But as far as lobbying, we're always looking move guys to, if he's the best corner, he's going to play corner.
There you go. Boom. Cornerback, safety, nickel. And I guess I've been hearing it for a while, but I hadn't heard anybody bring up safety. I just remember that little blurb from my man Chip Brown's article about Gary Patterson saying he can play safety. And I'm just looking at his skill set saying he could play safety. Remember, I told you he's a football investigator, much like a Quandre Diggs, who also played cornerback, safety, and nickel. And if you and all a football investigator needs is clues, and they'll solve the play. All right, they'll figure out the play. The more clues you give them. At nickel, you don't have access to as many clues as you do at safety. So I think at safety, he actually wouldn't be a bad safety because he would have more access to more clues, and he would be able to diagnose the play better. Go ask Quandre. Quandre liked playing nickel more than he liked playing safety, but he made more plays at safety than he made at nickel because he's a football investigator. He was able to solve the plays a little bit better from that angle. All right. Last cut. We'll get to the last cut here. Here is PK talking about the defensive ends, the edge room, which we talked about is really, really deep. You got an embarrassment of riches there. Here's PK talking about his edges.
We got some length, got some twitch, got some power. It's a good combination. The leader of that group is Barron Sorrell. He's coming back for his fourth year, and he's all business. And again, he's another guy that's had a really good offseason. He's really good for that room. And then the addition of Trey and Colin are going to, add a different element to that room, what they can do coming off the edge. And then, Colton Vasek is healthy, right? See what he can do. And then, Burke's been a very productive player for us, and his length is hard to deal with. But there's then really the only guy that's, who am I missing there? Zena's a new freshman, and we'll see how he progresses. But yeah, I feel good about all seven of them. Yeah. Justice is definitely a guy that's played a lot, and he can play either position.
All seven of them. I mean, he's losing track. He got so many edges. He's losing track. I'm like, oh yeah, that one too. That's how deep they are on the edge. And I love that he said Trey Moore and Colin Simmons brought a different element. You know what he's talking about? Ball get off. Guys who can just flat out speed rush around there. That's what he's talking about. And those two dudes got it. All right. There you go. That's PK. Good stuff there. Thank you, Patrick, for all the audio. Let's come back. We'll get into the topic for the big fat poll today. And we'll also have your musically themed day of the week right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn.
Back on the Rodcast on a Wednesday morning, and that means it's a one artist Wednesday. The artist this week is Def Leppard. Joe Elliott has a birthday tomorrow, turns 65 tomorrow, the lead singer of Def Leppard. So we'll play some Def Leppard all show today here on the Rodcast for a one artist Wednesday. Let's get into the big fat poll today. Text line's open. 512-447-3776 is the text line. And you can hit us up on X. We'll get it posted up there at the Horn ATX.
Patrick's big fat poll of the day on the Horn.
All right, big fat poll of the day today. We didn't get to the sound, so I'll play some for you right here with Jeff Banks. He also spoke to the media yesterday and was asking about, he is a special teams coordinator, but also the tight ends coach. And tight end, one of the positions that Texas has a few more questions about this year. With JT Sanders going on to the Panthers, there's a lot of good talent there. Jeff Banks was asked about the tight end depth in the tight end room. Here's Jeff Banks, what he had to say about what he thinks the tight end room is going to do this year.
So they've had great summers. I mean, nobody knows who Juan Davis is very much because he's been a core special team player backup. He's played phenomenal this spring. He's a dynamic player in the passing game. He's a lot more physical in the run game than you would think by looking at his body type. He will knock the crap out of you coming through the A gap on counter plays. And Amari's done a nice job. A really good transition. He's matured nicely. I mean, he is a little bit more mature because he's not a freshman transfer, but he's matured nicely with the team. Just relationship-wise, I think just in the building, trust-wise, he's gained our trust. So I think those three guys are all independently different, which is cool, different than JT. Gunner showed more of a leadership role this spring, which I love. He certainly improved as a blocker last year and got even better this spring. So I'm expecting great things from him. We're excited about all three guys, and obviously Jordan Washington is a rising star. So we'll see, hey, if it's a longer season and that means more injuries possibly, that means more depth. Our depth's going to get tested. Jordan Washington's going to play a role.
So there is three guys he named, and then threw in a fourth, just to say we don't even know. We may play 4 tight ends this season. Everyone's still got to earn it. Everyone's still got to get in, but it leads us to the big fat poll of the day. When I was listening to that and saying, well, we don't know who's going to be the guy at tight end. He wouldn't commit to anybody. So we know that they're all going to get some playing time. He especially spoke well about Juan Davis, making sure people know that he is going to get some playing time as well. So the big fat poll today, which tight end will lead Texas in receptions this season? Which tight end will lead Texas in receptions? So we're not saying touchdowns. We're not saying yardage, but in receptions. Which tight end will lead Texas in receptions? You got Amari Niblack coming in from Alabama. Juan Davis was just mentioned as well. Gunnar Helm, he said, is the leader of the tight end room, is definitely the biggest leader in the room. And then Jordan Washington is the rising star. And that was the who knows if he progresses fast enough. He's the guy that can do it all. So we'd rather play him. If he can go in there and not mess up, then we'd rather have him because he's the best player. We think he'll be the best player.
Yeah. They don't. Yeah. The issue at tight end for me is that they don't have a tight end that can consistently go out there and beat one-on-one coverage against a safety or a nickel back. I think they can beat linebackers, but against a safety or a nickel consistently and be an adequate run blocker for them. They can't do both. They don't have a guy that can do both. I think Gunnar Helm is their best blocker, but I worry about him beating one-on-one coverage. I think Niblack can just obliterate and eviscerate one-on-one coverage, but as a blocker, I think he's subpar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we'll play that clip a little bit later in the show, but he also does talk about Amari Niblack and does try to give him more, that he does have more strength. And I don't know if he doesn't say blocking a ton, but he mentioned strength and power.
He did say natural strength or something like that? Like he's naturally strong.
Yes.
I was like, what does that even mean?
He basically, it's going into everything around blocking, of all the pieces you need to block. He has all of those. We just need to make him want to now.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I asked you, was she hot? And you still like, dude, I tell you, she's great. She's really funny. Her personality is amazing. Oh, her family is great. She's from a great family.
You can't even tell if she's wearing makeup.
Wait,
is she wearing makeup or not? You can't even tell.
I'm like, that doesn't answer my question. I said, is she hot? Yeah, so you're right. That did seem like what it was. We'll play that cut later on. That's it. But yeah, I think they're gonna moneyball it, and that's a great question. Who's gonna lead in receptions? Oh man, I feel like it's gonna be close. I feel like it's gonna be really close between Helm and Nye Black. And I'm with you. I could easily see he went off on Juan Davis. He really likes Juan Davis. And I'm like, is Juan Davis gonna make a move this year or something?
Yeah, and I feel like Juan Davis is a guy that I feel like is definitely the practice warrior right now.
I can see
that he is going out there and he is blocking his butt off. He's working to get into that rotation, and he's going to earn himself some playing time early. And the question is, when he gets the playing time early, does he make an impact? And if he doesn't, then he falls further out of that lineup. But he clearly, because we've heard him be mentioned enough times, even by Sark at points, that he's working his butt off to get on the field and prove himself there. And then the question is, when you start playing against other teams and other talent, are you able to play at a high enough level? But they seem to think he's going to get some playing time. And then you throw in there, I think if Juan Davis excels and gets more playing time, that means Jordan Washington is going to be a harder path for him to get on the field this season. But if he doesn't, and then Gunnar Helm struggles to get open in places, and maybe Amari Nyblack struggles in pass blocking, and they want that multi-tool athletes that they feel Jordan Washington can be, you may see him. They may try and progress him a little bit faster to see if they can get him ready for possible playoff run and possible opportunities down the line to say, here's somebody that maybe people haven't scouted as much, but we feel we can put in some big plays. I don't know if I'd put him as leading in receptions because I don't think he's going to be overly used.
But in terms of making a move, I'm with you. I've heard some Gacy recruiting analysts say, yeah, we underrated them. Like literally after the spring game, they're like, we underrated them. Like we should have had him higher. Should have been higher rated recruit.
And I'll put it. We all know Sark likes to hold things. Like he likes to have that joker in his pocket.
Yep.
And
he does.
That's something that I think Jordan Washington, as he gets later in the season, and when you talk about having to play A&M at the end of the season, the SEC championship game in a playoff, if you're hoping to get into that world, that having that little card in your pocket to go, okay, no, we have some Jordan Washington packages and plays drawn up, and we don't want to use them too much, so we don't want to put them on film too much, but we know we've got him, and we know a couple plays that'll work.
No, he looked really impressive, and I think the future of the tight end position is really bright with the guys they're bringing in with Jordan Washington. And yeah, you're right in terms of the all around tools at the tight end position. He may have more all around to be a well balanced all around 5-tool tight end than Nye Black or Gunnar Helm, because he definitely can win on one-on-one coverage down the field. I have to worry about whether he has the strength right now in the body to be able to stand up and be a blocker in the running game. But no, I'm with you. I like Jordan Washington a lot. And if Juan Davis doesn't take those reps, Jordan Washington will take them. All right, good stuff there. We'll come back. We'll get into the topic for the big fat poll today about the tight end position. Thank you for that, Patrick. All right, we come back. We'll dive into NFL news notes and nuggets from training camp. We'll talk about the Cowboys, talk about the Texans. We'll dive into some NFL discussion right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. One Artist Wednesday on the Rodcast. That's from my man Patrick, who does all the musically themed days of the week. That's why we call him the Idealionaire, that and a lot of other reasons. But this one, he goes deep down into the catalog of one specific artist or group or band. And today, Def Leppard, the focus of One Artist Wednesday. So appreciate it. I was actually jamming that one. What's the name of this Def Leppard jam here?
This is a Photograph.
Photograph? Okay.
Photograph by Def Leppard, yes.
I thought I kind of recognized that one. All right, there you go. Did you have a hard time? Too many bangers in the Def Leppard?
There's a lot, but they have a lot. They have some more ballads, or not even ballads, but kind of a little bit slower. So they, you could pick out the ones that are a little bit more high energy. And
yeah, okay.
But yeah, a lot of good stuff in the Def Leppard catalog.
Okay, there you go. That's the purpose of a One Artist Wednesday. All right, so appreciate Patrick there. Also appreciate him coming up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day. And because the Longhorns are starting training camp today officially, reporting to practice, everybody's in a Longhorn football state of mind. So it is a topic related to Texas football. Patrick, give the folks the topic for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll today. Which tight end will lead Texas in receptions this season?
It's good. Yeah, because I'm not sure. I think it could be Gunnar Helm. It could be Nyblack. It easily be. I think I could see it being really close between those guys, but being very different types of weapons. Right, one's a downfield guy. One guy's using the screen game a little bit more. Maybe another guy you use in your play action RPO game a little bit more. Just think it could end up being different roles, but. That's a good question. Right now, if I'm gonna have to go with somebody, I'll probably go with Gunnar Helm. And I know it should be Amari Nyblack. It should be, but I'm not sure how well. I worry about the offense being predictable when he's in there. Because if he can't block, and I mean pass block and run block, all right, if he can't do that proficiently enough, then first of all, he never should be pass blocking. He should always be running around. But every now and then they would have JT as a pass blocker too. Yeah. Just not to be too predictable. But if you come in there every time he's out there going on a route, and then basically it's going to be a 70-something% pass rate when Amari Nyblack's on the field. Makes you very predictable. Unless you're going to bring him on the field in just passing situations. Right? It's like second and long, third and long, or Amari Nyblack's out there. When you're more balanced situations that you have Gunnar Helm out there, they can go about it that route. I just worry about them being predictable if Amari Nyblack can't block. Yeah,
and that's, I think, ideally, if everything goes great for Sark and Jeff Banks and Texas, Amari Nyblack's the easy answer, because that means his blocking is better. That means they've got him over the offseason. They've got him, a little bit more powerful. His natural strength is shown, and
the natural strength of Amari Nyblack. Can we play that cut? We can reference it. We might as well play it, because it is funny. Because for those who don't know, even scouting wise, whatever, when you're talking about Pro Football Focus analysis, or you're talking about the scouting report for Amari Nyblack, it is that he is a physical freak, in terms of his physical traits and athleticism, and he offers a speed. He might be the fastest tight end potentially in the country. He's got that kind of speed, or one of the fastest tight ends in the country. So he's got explosive verticality within his game. But the Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams, Cardi B size, Megan the same size, but he is a below average blocker. Not just below average. He's basically poor, subpar blocker. Based on Pro Football Focus grades and analysis, and the hope is that if he can improve as a blocker, then he's close to being more of a 5-tool tight end and a true threat. So, with that being said, that's always the question: hey, is he a good blocker? What is he? I mean, you guys improving on the blocking, so keep that in mind as you hear Jeff Banks describe Amari Nyblack and his development.
Yeah, I don't think we saw Amari full speed, ready to go game like we did when we played him against Alabama, because Amari was coming off of surgery. So we were very smart and we were very calculated on how we brought him back into full contact, knowing that we couldn't have a setback because he really needed to learn the plays. And physically, we didn't want him out for the summer. So if he goes in there in the spring and gets hurt and re-injures something, now we're back setting him back. He doesn't get the reps. I think the best thing we did was slowly bring him along. So we didn't really get to see a lot of him. But, he's a physical stature that can do both. That can play Y and H because of how tall, how big, how strong he is. He's naturally strong. And obviously he showed at Bama his ability to catch the ball down the field. So, we're excited. I'm excited to see him in training camp, like to your point, full speed, ready to roll.
Big, strong, naturally strong. Yeah.
Naturally strong.
Naturally strong. So, like I said, that's the concern is that
he has the stature.
Yeah. He does. He's physical. I mean, the physical profile is on point. It's exactly what you want. Like I said, I worry that the scouting report will be, when Amari Knobloch's on the field, the pass rate is 76%. It's like, okay, that's an easy. So I'll be tracking stuff like that, but I think it's an easy giveaway unless you have a guy that you trust to be an every down player. So at tight end. And Gunnar Helm is closer to being that than every down player. But Gunnar Helm, like I said, he's not, you got to scheme him open as opposed to just engineering a one-on-one matchup. Like with the rest of those guys, like, no, I engineer a one-on-one matchup with Sark's receivers against a DB, I'm good. I don't necessarily have to scheme them open every time. I think with Gunnar Helm, he's going to need to be schemed open most of the time.
Yeah, it'll be schemed open and then, check down.
Yes, exactly. Right. And the defense is already stressed and they've dropped back 8 yards and boom, you delayed release after you blocked for a half a second, that kind of thing. Yes. Like I said, I don't, but that's also not necessarily a good thing because then potentially he's a liability in the passing game because teams can put their weakest coverage defender on him and get like, all right, take that guy. And we don't have to worry about Gunnar Helm. So they don't have to money ball it, no offenses. And hopefully Amari Knobloch or Gunnar Helm emerge and shatter narratives. And we don't even have to worry. We are talking about something different, talking about their NFL prospects.
No, Texas is not in the great position of, we know we have a tight end that is going to be dominant, or where we were last year with JT Sanders, where you thought we have one of the best tight ends in the country, but you're also in a position where you do have two guys that you think can produce a lot this year. You have a guy on your bench, a freshman in Jordan Washington, that you think is going to be able to come in the next few years and give you 2 to 3 years of being a starting tight end for you in Jordan Washington. And then you also have Juan Davis to give you a lot of depth and ability to bring somebody else in and show different looks and just continue to confuse of making a defense have to prepare for so many different options that, when you're a lineman or a linebacker and you're trying to read and try and be a football investigator and then they stick out their fourth tight end, like, man, I don't want to have to remember all just tight ends. Like, I'm trying to remember all those other stuff and I got to remember the tight ends, what they're going to do.
Yeah, they have what they call a GAS stat, and it's basically game athleticism scores, what the GAS stands for, and it's based on GPS tracking data. This is from Amari Knobloch from last year. They had him in the 99.9th. They had a 99.9th percentile for tight ends. That's how athletic he is for a tight end.
Yeah.
He had a top speed last year of over 20 miles per hour at tight end, so he can go, but the Kim Kardashian.
Wait, did he have the over 20 miles per hour before he even got to Texas?
Yeah, 20 miles per hour.
I thought that was a Texas thing, that everybody was over 20 miles per hour.
Yeah, even Arch, right? But the big but there is he was among the 20 lowest graded run blockers at tight end in all of college football. But 11 of his 20 receptions last season went for 15 plus yards in 2023. I mean, he can, like I said, he's a downfield vertical threat. Like I said, the run blocking has to improve. The run blocking and the pass blocking too. I imagine the pass blocking is not great, but he's never in pass blocking because he's such a receiving threat. Who would leave him in the pass block? But I think at times Texas may have that too as a factor, leave him in the pass block. Once teams are allocating resources to stop him, you're putting a safety on him. Hey, we leave him in. We also leave that safety in, and we can do some different creative things with him, a delayed release and screen game. And Sark loves the tight end screens. He ran like 4 of them in the spring game. He ran like 4 tight end screens in the spring game. He loves the tight end screen. Okay, good stuff there. All right, let's get, before we get into some Cowboys discussion and some news, notes, and nuggets from Texas training camp, let's get updated, educated, and informed on all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros dropped their 3rd straight and 2nd in the series with the Pirates 6-2 yesterday. Hunter Brown pitched 5 2/3 innings, getting no help from an Astros defense that had 3 errors in the game before allowing a 2-run homer to Michael Taylor to end his night. The Astros wrap up their series with the Pirates tonight with Framber Valdez on the mound. And the Rangers lost to the Cardinals 8-1 with Max Scherzer once again only lasting 4 innings, throwing just 68 pitches before being pulled due to arm fatigue. Cody Bradford in his return from the injured list allowed 5 runs in 2 innings, and the Rangers could not rally with their only run coming off a Wyatt Langford solo homer. The Rangers did add bullpen depth at the trade deadline, picking up left-handed reliever Andrew Chafin from the Tigers. They will look to win their series with the Cardinals today with Andrew Haney on the mound. And looking at the medal count for the Olympics, the current USA medal count, they are still in the lead of the total medal count with 27 now. 4 golds puts them in 7th for the golds, but they have 12 silvers and 11 bronze as well. And that is your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. We had the discussion earlier, and I hate to sound unpatriotic. I'm not trying to sound unpatriotic, but I've been doing the research, and I've kind of gone back like to the 90s, and I'm going to keep going. Team USA always wins the overall medal count. We do all the time. I'm sure I'll find an Olympics where we don't win it, but we win it every year. We win every Olympics, Summer Olympics. We win the overall medal count. So, I want to celebrate. I want the gold. I want the gold medal. I want to have the gold medal lead, and I want to be the gold medal overall winner more so than I want to be the overall medal count winner because you get that every Olympics. That is around the world. That is considered. It's like, oh man, that's a no-brainer. They're gonna do that every year. That doesn't even matter. That's actually not a barometer for how competitive and dominant they are. I want to win the gold, so I got to go back and do research on how often we win the gold medal count.
I think we often win that as well.
We often win that as well, but that matters to me more than the overall medal count. Like, I feel like the Dallas Cowboys. I feel like we're celebrating 12 wins in the regular season. We're celebrating 9 more All-Pros than every other team. We got more All-Pros than everybody else. We actually got higher television ratings than every other team in the league. We make more money. We're more valuable than every team. Who's winning playoff games? Oh, no, we're not really winning playoff games, but look at all the other stuff that we are really good at, except for winning playoff games. And I feel like the gold medals, that's the playoff games. I want to win those. I no longer care about the 12 wins and being the highest rated team in terms of television ratings. I mean, the most watched team in the NFL and the most valuable. All those things are important, but come on, man, give me the gold medal. All right, let's get to some training camp news, notes, and nuggets here. Let's start with the Texans, and then we'll make our way to the Cowboys and discuss the contract negotiations, the latest reports from those. But this is some training camp nuggets from the Texans. They haven't had any, well, knock on wood here, haven't had any serious injuries. There have been some guys who have got nicked up in practice and left. Titus Howard got nicked up in practice a little bit. I think Nico Collins got a little nicked up, had to hit the sidelines, left practice a little bit early, but nothing serious. They did get the news, but they have had some guys who just haven't practiced really yet. Joe Mixon has not been a full participant yet in practice. He's been on the sideline and then he does some drills, but he has not been a full participant. Christian Harris, a linebacker, also not practicing, hasn't practiced yet, but he's there. These guys are there, but haven't practiced yet. So that's a little concerning. I think Andrew Beck had the lifetime loan at Andrew Beck, by the way. He did miss some time with a calf injury, but he's been back with the team too, the fullback / tight end. The biggest news recently was that Danico Autry, the recent defensive lineman they signed, he's going to be suspended 6 games for PEDs. And then turns out his former teammate with the Titans, Arden Key, also is going to be suspended 6 games.
Yeah.
What's going on with the Titans? That's kind of weird.
Well, so I know what Autry said his was.
What did he say it was? What was
his was that he had a prescription for something and his doctors did not clear that there was something on this prescription from the ban list and it wasn't listed in what they thought they were doing. And so it was something that he did not realize he was taking, something that was on the ban list. The doctors didn't realize he was taking something on the ban list. But he said
the ban list was there available for the doctors and for him.
No. I believe it was that this wasn't listed in the thing, that what they had seen, what the ingredients were on the list, they didn't realize that was in it. So the doctors messed up. And it's costing him. What he's saying.
The banned substance wasn't listed on the bottle of whatever.
I guess that was what he said, basically.
That's well. somebody's liable for that. Then I mean that's
basically what he said.
Isn't that like an FDA thing?
But it was basically something to the effect of it was a prescription medicine.
Did you get it from a gas station? Is the question?
No, prescription medicine.
He said he got a prescription medicine. Did they? I think they're like obligated by law to list. I don't know. Like, that's a blame. Got to ask a pharmacist that kind of thing.
Yes,
I guess.
that would be yes. Okay. That was.
But the NFL obviously they don't care. They're like, dude,
no,
we have a banned substance list. Yeah, we don't care. The NFL doesn't care about that. If you took something on a banned substance, they really don't care the reason why. Every now and then somebody, I believe one of the Texans actually won an appeal. Remember, he went to Mexico and he was eating beef in Mexico that had steroids in it. And then he tested positive for PEDs. And he was like, no, man, I'm telling you, I didn't take any. I was eating beef in Mexico. And I believe he won his appeal because the NFL found research that there was steroids in the beef in Mexico where he was eating. And then they put out a memo to the rest of the league like, hey, don't eat beef in Mexico when you go down there. There may be steroids in it. I swear, if I can remember, I recall that story. You remember that vaguely?
I do remember that.
I forget what player it was, though. I will look that up, but I remember that. So it happens. It does. Stuff like that happens. Weird stuff like that. So he could, and by the way, I believe Coach Ryan said he believed him and they stood by him. They were like, no, we believe him. We stand by him. And they said they've known about it for a while. So I think either he came to them early and told them about it as soon as he found out, or they found out directly from the league.
No, I could believe that there was a point where he said, "This is what it is. Can we get this changed?" And they said, "No."
No. Yeah, NFL don't mess around with the PED. No. So they can test you all basically based on the latest CBA that I knew. They can test you anytime they want for PEDs.
Yeah.
Any time of the year. But for street drugs, they get one time to test you for street drugs. And if you pass, you're good for the rest of the season.
I did see that DeMarcus Ware posted that he got the text that was everyone's assuming was intended for DeMarcus Lawrence. That was that you had a random screening and you had to come in. He's like, better get ready to suit up. I guess I'm back.
That is hilarious. They got the wrong DeMarcus. And by the way, they will in the offseason, they have like certain places you have to report to.
Yeah.
And they were like, or they'll, I want to say either they can send someone to your residence if within a certain time period, or they'll like direct you to go to a certain clinic and they'll test. I mean, the NFL is wild about that. They don't mess around with the PED stuff. I will say this, Danico Autry, the defensive lineman coming in, remember last year had 11.5 sacks. He would be, him and Daniil Hunter, both double-digit sack guys. It would be only the second time since 1982 that a team added multiple double-digit sack players in the offseason. The last team to do it, other than these Texans, I should have saved this for what the facts with the stats. What the hell? I'm not thinking like, damn, this is a good stat. Last team to do it was in 1994 49ers. 11. They added Richard Dent and Ricky Jackson. 12.5 sacks and 11.5 sacks that year. Added those two guys. So Texans, people haven't added to a defense the way the Texans have in a really, really long time. And we talked about yesterday, we expect Stingley, who's having a really good camp, to make a leap. There's also discussion, Jawar Jordan, the running back, is having a really good camp too. The running back they just drafted, they really like him. And thank God they do, because like I said, Joe Mixon has not been a full participant yet with the Texans in camp.
Yes, hamstring is what they're saying.
Yeah, and it's just, like I said, I don't even know. I guess he must have heard it probably just working out in the offseason.
Yeah, and the reports early were that it was just a minor – like, because he practiced the first couple of days.
I thought
and then he hasn't practiced since. But I believe they said it was just a tweak or something. And they're basically, we know what Joe Mixon is. We're really not that worried about it. And we're much more worried about him getting hurt by us pushing him early. So we'd rather get our young guys some work and try and get them in than build up a guy who's even though, I mean, I played this the other day on who said that, but Joe Mixon with his theory that the best running backs in the league are 28 to 32.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's that. Yeah, I know. That's that dude that says older women are hotter kind of thing.
No, he's like if you look at all the guys 28 to 32, they're killing it right now.
I know. It's like
all right, Joe, man, we get it.
Listen. Older women are also attractive, but I wouldn't be going saying older women are hotter. I was that guy's like, oh no, dude, the MILFs are way hotter. It's like, calm down. Calm down that noise, okay? All right, they're hot. I wouldn't hotter. I wouldn't go that far. Your running backs can be good, 28-32. I wouldn't say they're better. That's ridiculous.
You're like, yes, anyway. But you're also, it's also like, yes, the guys who can stick around to that are usually really good running backs.
That's true. That's a great point.
If you're going to compare the 2 to 3 guys that can actually do it at that level to the 50 other ones, you'll find those 2 to 3 are probably better than a lot of the 50 to 60 others because they're just that's how they've been able to stick around.
Yeah. You take all the MILFs, then I'll take the ones in their prime. You take the MILF running backs. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. They're really hot, but hotter, I would argue against. All right, still, I like that. Yeah, nobody. When it's not a lie if you believe it. So Costanza thing. Keep telling yourself that, Joe Mixon. Keep telling yourself that. All right, let's get to some Cowboys discussion here. The first nugget is from my man. Clarence Hill. He's giving an update on the contract situation. He says, this was yesterday, was told no deals for CD Lamb or Dak Prescott yet, but source said Lamb was closer than Prescott. So remember, a deal is not done until it's done. So, yeah. So he says Lamb is closer than Prescott on a deal. That obviously probably makes sense because Lamb is the one holding out. And Dak is at least there in training.
Well, and especially if we've heard that Stephen Jones audio yesterday where 55, no one seems to want to go over 55. That seems off on what we all think Dak's going to get paid. So
it's like it's like you going over 55. What you mean nobody's going? No, you are. You're about to go over 55, Steven. That's just, nobody except for you.
Now I'm sure the Cowboys are looking over at DJ Moore's contract and saying, look, he only took 27.5. I think that's pretty fair. 27.
I want to get into that actually in Raj Rant. That's going to be one part of my Raj Rant. I want to get into that DJ Moore contract. I think it kind of went under the radar, but I'll tell you why it should matter for the Cowboys and for the Texans. All right, Cowboy stuff. Overshown is taking reps for the first team, has taken some first team reps, I should say, which is really good. He looks like he's having a really good training camp so far. They need DeMar. They need their last 2 draft classes, at least the first 3 picks in their last 2 draft classes, to really show up here. They just had the injury to Sam Williams. So the edge rusher, what's his name, Nealon, they were drafted in the second round. They need him to step up. DeMarvion Overshown, they need him to step up. He was injured last season. Mozzie Smith cannot be a bust of the Cowboys. That would be hugely detrimental for them, debilitating almost. They need him to step up. Schoonmaker, tight end. They got nothing pretty much from those guys. So expecting big things from DeMarvion Overshown. If you go look at the Cowboys running back position, I haven't heard much about. I will admit that. Not that there would be much buzz about it, but I haven't heard much at all about who's getting the bulk of the reps, that kind of stuff. I assume, Rico Dowdle should be the main running back in the committee by the running back committee, but I don't know. I've not heard much about it. Rico Dowdle had a better year than Zeke in almost every statistical category, but the Cowboys may decide Zeke has more experience and knows the offense better. I have no idea what they're going to do there at running back. They need to make a trade, in my opinion. Other notes from Cowboys training camp. How about this? Okay, so this comes from 105 through the fan. It is from Shannon RJ, and they are down in Oxnard covering the Cowboys training camp. And they're claiming that this is the least amount of buzz that fans have had there at Cowboys training camp in quite a while. Do we have this audio? Here's the audio, and this is live. Shan from 105 through the fan giving his take on this kind of the hot take of the day. But listen to what he addresses.
Sean Schrafe here with a 105 through the fan training camp confessional. And the confessional is we may have an interest problem, not just back home in the Metroplex, but out here in California. It's dead out here, y'all. And it's been like this. Mike Leslie tweeted out the picture. It kind of blew up. Hang on.
3rd and 11.
Thank you, Coach. Maybe years and years and years of the Cowboys coming up short have finally caught up with them, along with this really frustrating offseason. So my confessional from out here at practice today, it looks like the Cowboy fan depression has hit Cali as well.
All right. Sending a little Cowboys fatigue out there. I did see the video. I don't know if you saw it there, Patrick. It was not empty stands, but just scattered fans in the stands. Very weird. Usually it's jam-packed with fans for the Cowboys. And then I saw the Texans. There was a video tweeted out, and their fans for practice. Obviously, it's in Houston, so a lot different. Of course, Cowboys are way on the West Coast. But I haven't seen as many fans ever really for lining up for Texans practice. They were like blocks. It was like blocks long groups of fans trying to get into practice.
I don't know the last time you had so many names that you wanted to go get like autographs from.
Oh,
for a kid.
Yeah.
I don't
Good
like
point.
for the Texans.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know where they've had that many guys that you go, I'm really excited that I like 3 wide receivers that you really want to get their autograph.
Agreed.
And then you throw in Stingley in the secondary, and then Will Anderson is now that guy.
The star, yeah.
And Hunter is a guy that you say now you want to get onto that list. And so there's more and more, and we're not even talking CJ Stroud, but maybe even Joe Mixon you want to put on that list now. Like there's more and more guys you're like, I need to get I want to go see these guys, where it's been where they've had a few, but I don't know if they've had this amount of guys that you would say I want their jersey or I want, you know what I mean?
Kind of that was a year where say JJ Watt and like Deshaun Watson, but not this many. I mean, none with you. Not this many guys.
Yeah, because you had
like
D-Hop and
D-Hop and JJ Watt. They had like a year where they had some star power, but it does seem like they have more star power than ever before.
Yeah, because it usually felt like they had 3, maybe 4. In this one, it feels like they have 6 to 7, at least
Agreed.
6.
Yeah, and they got them on both sides of the ball. It was, I agree with you. I like that take. They had the star power. And that's probably why the fans are out there. And CJ Stroud, I mean, he's the biggest star of them all. But even D'Amico. I mean, think about D'Amico. He's a guy played for the Texans and now comes back as a coach. I guarantee there are a lot of fans. They love them some D'Amico.
Oh yeah. I mean, so if you sit there and and that's too one of those fun things of a parent that loves D'Amico Ryans and a kid who loves the new team.
Mm-hmm.
You get to have that fun of going and being like, no, D'Amico's from the Texans that I grew up with or I came up with, and then you've got now your team, and this is I mean, it's I can see why there's excitement, and it's the same thing of where there's fatigue with the Cowboys, where it is the same thing kind of over, and there's not new players coming in that you're excited to go see or get, if you've been the last 3 years, who are you going back for this year for their autograph?
That's why they need that rookie. I told you they need those 2 rookie classes to step up.
Yeah, like Cooper Beebe.
They really do need that new blood. Like for like you said, for the buzz overall. They also need it, I think, for salary cap relief.
Yeah,
they need it. When
maybe you didn't get Jake Ferguson's last year. Want to go get Jake
Ferguson? He actually is.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying of a guy that says emerging, but he was on the team last year, so maybe he didn't get it last year.
True.
But so now you see he's more emerging. Yeah, I'm putting him on that list. I'm just he was there last year. I'm just trying to say he wasn't what we think he's going to be this year.
Deron Bland, emerging, as a star last year. But they did these 2 rookie classes for the Cowboys are going to be huge. They really need those guys to step up. Okay, I'll say the Dak disrespect take for next segment. We get into Raj Ram today, and we'll talk about the DJ Moore contract and what lessons the Cowboys can learn from this latest wide receiver extension. All of that and more when we return right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into Rod's Rap of the Day. Let's talk about this DJ Moore deal. DJ Moore just signed a new deal, and it's not a huge contract. Well, it's a really good contract, but in terms of setting the wide receiver market, it's not that kind of contract. But he did sign an extension with the Bears. It's actually for the Bears, it is historic. It is the highest, or at least the most robust deal that the Bears have ever signed for a wide receiver. He agreed to a 4-year, $110 million extension. The extension includes 82. Remember talking about the guarantees? $82.6 million in guarantees. Moore made history by being the first NFL receiver to have the first 10 years of his career guaranteed, I guess, according to this report here. So it's not gonna set the market, if you will, for the wide receiver, but it does put him now in the top 10. I think he was like right above 20 million before in his previous deal. He was like at 20 point something million a year. And this deal puts him firmly in the top 10. The thing that makes it interesting to me is that I said this before, and the Cowboys, this is the lesson they need to learn too. But the Nico Collins deal that the Texans signed, and I said it when they signed him, I said, man, that Nico Collins deal is going to age beautifully. I think they signed it 2 months ago for the Texans. When he signed that deal for the Texans, he was the 7th highest paid wide receiver 2 months ago. He's already 10th. He's already been bumped down to 10th on the list. And by the time CeeDee Lamb gets his deal, and the Brandon Ayuk gets his deal,
Jamar Chase is still get a deal coming.
Jamar Chase is going to get a deal next year, whatever. Dude, he's going to be so. That may be another receiver we're not even thinking about, actually, that ends up getting somewhere above or around Nico Collins. I wasn't thinking about DJ Moore. I'm not going to lie to you.
No.
I think I brought him up once when we talked about receivers getting deals. I brought up Amari Cooper, and he got one. But I hadn't brought up DJ Moore at all. It makes sense, but I hadn't thought about it. So I'm saying that could be another wide receiver we're just not thinking about that also gets money in that neighborhood. But my point is that deal, because I don't think people realize how good Nico Collins was last year. And he played, or at least the stats would tell you that he played like a top 10 receiver in the league. But they didn't pay him necessarily like a top receiver, and they're still not going to be paying him like a top 10 receiver. And we'll see if he can replicate what he did last year. But like I said, that 2 months ago, but that's the Jerry Jones. That is the lesson. That's the lesson Jerry Jones needs to learn, is that 2 months ago, you signed him to made him a top 10 receivers, number 7, and now he's already 10th. 2 months later, he's dropped down 3 spots. If you had got that CD, think about this. Prior to this offseason, there was one wide receiver making over $28 million per year. Now there are 5 of them. Prior to this offseason, there were 0 wide receivers that had $75 million in guaranteed money on their deal. Now there are 4 of them. So just this offseason, we've seen a huge just increase, inflation of the value of the wide receiver market. But prior to this offseason, if you'd have got that deal done, or even in the middle of this offseason got it done, you wouldn't have had to match the market. And now you do. Like I said, last offseason, only one wide receiver was making over $28 million per year. Now that number is 5. Remember I told you guys I think it was 2020, you had 5 wide receivers, I believe, making $20 million or more. Now you have 21 making $20 million or more.
Yeah.
Just
some names in the 2026 free agency class for wide receivers, because these are the guys that'll be getting paid soon enough.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans will be back in that. He's a little bit older. Christian Kirk, who reset the market before, will be back in that.
Oh, man, Christian Kirk, you're right.
And then you get into guys like Drake London, Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson. I forgot about him.
George Pickens, who's a guy who's been, had his issues, but he's also, his yards per reception is insane.
It's crazy. It's freaky, yeah.
So, that's just a few more names that are coming up that could all be in that category of above Nico.
Yep.
with the inflation.
I didn't expect DJ. DJ just slid in there. Now he's number 7 at $27.5 million, right behind Devontae Adams at $28 million. Like I said, that wide receiver market is wild. I've never seen anything like it. And Nico, the best thing about it, what did I always say, right? How do you get value in the NFL if you're a general manager? How do you get value? You need your players to outperform their contracts. That's how you get your value. All right. Yeah, that's why the rookie class or your draft class is usually the best place you're going to find value, because all those guys, if you hit on them, they're going to outperform their contracts. Hard for the highest paid QB in the league to outperform his contract. Patrick Mahomes is outperforming his deal. LeBron James outperforms his deal. Like that's sometimes you get guys that are so damn good, you can pay them top of the market value, still outperform their deal. That's, in my opinion, that's going to be Nico Collins. And Nico Collins proves it because he was a top 10 receiver last year. Remember, he averaged, I'll give you a couple of stats. He averaged the second most yards per target in a single season since 1992. He joined Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, and Julio Jones as the only 3 receivers who averaged 3 or more yards per route run in a single season over the past decade. If you go look at instances of a player averaging 3.1 plus yards per route run in a single season since 2010, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, Julio Jones, George Kittle, Nico freaking Collins. He was unbelievable. It's a top 10 receiver production, and now he's about to be bumped out of the top 10 in wide receiver pay. That's how you do it, Jerry. He's outperforming his contract now. That's value. That's what you want. And you get that by being proactive, not reactive. And so, yeah, that's that midnight hour mentality that Jerry has. I think it has cost him some money with CeeDee Lamb. Micah, it might not matter. And for Dak, I don't know if it matters either, because the quarterback market has the different rules that apply. But the wide receiver market, you just have to be kind of calculating it real time and looking at it and going, what the hell's going on with this wide receiver market? We should sign CD right now. This is crazy what's going on with the wide receiver market. And it's been happening actually for a couple of years now. Now, this offseason, it got crazy and wild in a hurry. But this has been building. Like I say, if you're studying and paying attention, hell, I've been bringing it up on this show for like the last 2 years. If you've been studying and paying attention, then you know that, hey, CD signing him sooner rather than later was always the move. Why we got here, how we got here, I don't know.
No, I mean, just the simple fact of he's young enough and talented enough that even if you said, okay, everything fell apart and we don't know what we're going to do, he's extremely tradable.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so that's the reason why you just go, no, just get him under contract. And then, even no matter what happens, we figure he'll be fine. Even if he had a catastrophic injury, he'd still be tradable or still be able to get value out of him. Unless it's career ending, in which case then you get exemptions. He'll be, he's going to continue to play. It doesn't make sense why they didn't, other than the fact that they just misread it. And now they're hoping that some miracle happens, that they somehow come out ahead on this deal, which it's not. So I don't know.
Yeah. And I always say, procrastination is a bad business plan, bad business practice, and hope is not a strategy, right? Hope floats, but it's not a strategy. And the Cowboys rely on it way too often. Okay, real quick before we get to the break, can we play the Dak disrespect for the people here? Get either the Dak haters, get them riled up, or get the Dak heads riled up. I'm a Dak fan, so I thought this was interesting. Now, yesterday, you could argue that Patrick and I were having a very disrespectful conversation toward Dak, because we were having the conversation, and I don't think either one of us ended up saying definitively if we would take Dak or Jared Goff. We just brought up, I think it's a good argument, a compelling argument on both sides. Dak or Jared Goff, which one? Who's better? Jared Goff's won multiple playoff games to multiple teams, been to a Super Bowl. Dak can't win in the playoffs, but Dak seems to be more consistent than Jared Goff. Where are you going with that? So we got there via a different route, because we were talking about the Cowboys' bad organizational habits. And the Get Up crew on ESPN, they were talking about quarterbacks, I believe, in the NFC, ranking their top 5 QBs in the NFC. And then they ended up having a very similar conversation, but listen to the Dak disrespect here.
I would right now, if you asked me to rank the NFC quarterbacks, it's Matthew Stafford 1. I would probably put Jordan Love at 2 and Brock Purdy at 3. But if you flip-flop those guys for me, I would have no argument on that. I'd probably put Kirk Cousins at 4 and Jared Goff at 5. So Love is on his way. The 9-game stretch, he was one of the best quarterbacks in all of football. But Stafford is still
where the hell
at
is
the top.
Dak Prescott, Dan?
I was about to say, I mean, I
Prescott?
didn't. Did you purposely leave out Dak? Did you just overlook Dak Prescott? I mean,
Who are you putting Dak over? You going to put him over Jared Goff?
you tell me.
So-
You would take. I mean, Harry.
Did he just say all of them?
Does Dak? I mean, Dak wasn't he runner up for MVP last year?
The MVP of the league at one point last year.
Yeah,
he had a great season last.
There you go. That was Dan Orlovsky, by the way, the Dan that they're referring to. He was the one that listing his top 5 quarterbacks. Dak is definitely among the top 5 QBs. He didn't list. He didn't list Jalen Hurts there either.
He also put Brock Purdy at 3, which I think is a little high for Brock Purdy right now. Because as much as Brock Purdy's played well, he also has all of the weapons any kid could ever want.
He does have a lot of weapons. And a great coach and play call.
Yeah, so I'm going to say, Brock's very good, but also, like you can tell, Brock Purdy doesn't win you as many games. I think other guys win you games. He doesn't lose you games, which is really, really good for Brock Purdy. But I don't know if Brock Purdy is necessarily at the point, and maybe he'll take a step this year, but I don't know how many games he's actually winning you.
He's still closer to being game manager than being a game executive.
Yes, exactly.
And Dak, you can tell is a game executive at this point. Like that, yeah. Dak's running that offense. That Texco's offense. That's code for Dak's offense.
And then also to throw in Kirk Cousins and then be like, "You mean Jared Goff?" Like, no, we all mean Kirk Cousins. We all think Dak's better than Kirk Cousins. And I get they're similar, but Dak's better than Kirk Cousins.
That was a quarterback thing. That's just him, like as a quarterback, liking something about Kirk. Because I was like, we'd all take Dak over.
You can't, because the Jared Goff argument I'm fine with, but I think Jared Goff is closer to 3 than 5. And so if you say Jared Goff's around 3, and so you say maybe Dak's in that 2 to 3, 4 range, he's somewhere in there. He's definitely top 5.
Kirk Cousins is not.
No, Brock Purdy's not mine, and it's just because I think if you put it in that situation of what he said, if you trade. No one in their right mind is trading for Brock Purdy basing off of what he's done. No one's saying, I'm going to give up a franchise quarterback and trust that he's going to be that good on my team. I don't think you're trading Dak Prescott for Brock Purdy. I don't think you are.
Yeah, one day you hope that Purdy will get there, but I'm with you right now.
After the season, maybe you do.
It's the system.
But we also saw Jimmy G succeed there. We've seen other quarterbacks succeed there that have gone to other places and been really bad.
Totally agree.
So I don't think until he starts to and he will be, but so far he is right in the right system.
It's hard to transcend that system. It's hard to transcend that system.
Yeah. So I'm saying
John Elway transcended that system. But
yeah.
It's hard.
The Falcons called the Cowboys and said Kirk Cousins for Dak Prescott. You're like, and Bijan, and they're like, no, I'm not doing that trade.
No, I'm not doing that trade.
So if we go on that metric that we said for Jared Goff, that's a question with Jared Goff at this point. I think on some of those other guys, like it's not a question. I'm not even taking that phone call. And Jordan Love, I'm taking Jordan Love because he's younger.
Yeah, I mean, you do have you only got that half a season, but I trust the Packers. It's more about me trusting their evaluation. It's like I trust the Packers. It's like I trust Chick-fil-A with chicken nuggets. I trust the Packers when it comes to quarterback. There's some things I just trust. Chick-fil-A give me some nuggets, I'm taking them. All right. So yeah, and I'll say I'm with you. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Okay. Let's get to the break. We'll get to what the stats on the other side. I got some cool factoids to share with you. We'll do that when we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Low Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Okay, so I've been doing some makeshift research here. Last time Team USA did not win the overall medal count in the Olympics. Now, it's two things. So in 1988, Soviet Union had 132 total medals, and East Germany had 102, and the United States was third in the overall medal count. And then in 1992 in Barcelona, there was what they call the unified team. And the unified team was the name used for the sports team of the former Soviet Union, all except the Baltic states at the 92 Summer Olympics. And they had more medals than Team USA in those Olympics. They had so that was basically was 1992 and 1988. It's the last time Team USA didn't have the overall medal count lead, or they weren't the winner in the overall medal count at the Olympics. So what matters more to you, because you've been on a really good run of now, since the early to basically mid 90s, that Team USA has always been the leader and the winner in overall medal count. Now I got to go back and check and see how often they've won the gold medal count. But like I said, I think the gold needs to change now. To have both, but I want to see if they can win the gold medal count, which I'm sure they probably win that a lot too. But right now they're, what'd you say, 7?
They're 7. They're not that far off, and they're
not like it's not like
embarrassing. No, and again, once again, we haven't gotten to track and field.
Yeah, you got some of your money sports coming up too in the Olympics. But yeah, I was just curious as to when that was the case, and there you go. The 1992 Summer Olympics was the last time Team USA did not win the overall medal count. All right, a couple of other. I guess we're up against it. I got a couple. I got a factoid here for you. How about this? Let's stay Olympic related factoids. South Sudan, because Team USA, the men, they play South Sudan today. Correct?
Yes, 2 p.m.
2 p.m. Thank you for that, Patrick. South Sudan, the world's youngest country, and doesn't have a single indoor basketball court. South Sudan, and today they're gonna play the greatest, assemblage of talent on a basketball court in the world in the Dream Team. So that's gonna be fun. They're 13 years old, basically, as a country.
That's crazy.
It's a really cool story. Like, it is one of the coolest stories in the Olympics. There are a lot of great stories in the Olympics. What the facts, what the stats. I got another one here for you. Jordan Love last year had a great season. We talked about that. Just got his new deal. Touchdown interception ratio versus man coverage, best in the NFL. 24 touchdowns, 1 interception last year, throwing against man coverage. It's pretty damn good. 247 Sports, they came out with the most expensive average ticket prices for the biggest games of the year in 2024. The most expensive ticket, or most expensive average ticket based on 247 Sports analysis? Texas at Texas A&M. $625. They say here's the average ticket price. I told you guys, just this year, it's going to be bigger than Texas OU. I've been saying it all off season. Paul Feinbaum agreed, says it's going to be the biggest game in the SEC next year. It's going to be crazy. We don't even know if the Aggies are going to be good. If they're good, oh man, then it's good. That ticket price, that average ticket price is going to skyrocket.
But you gotta see them Aggie fans. There's going to be, if that's the really big game. Do you know the entire scuttlebutt will be in College Station? Like, do not sell your tickets. Do not. Do not do this. You can't let them invade. You can't. That's every time that those prices go up and up, and then you see teams be like, "Dude, I need the money. I need the money. I don't like. I'll watch the game at home.
Inflation's at me. I'm sorry, man.
Sell to somebody in Austin. I don't care."
Yeah, and people in Austin will pay ridiculous amounts of money to go to that game. I guarantee you. Actually, A&M's on here 2 times in the top 6. Notre Dame at A&M is also number 6 on here. Average ticket price $359. The second is Navy versus Army, $527. In third, Texas at Michigan, $469. The average ticket price. Fourth, Texas versus Oklahoma, $445 is the average ticket price. So 3. How about if you're going to look at it, you have 3 basically of your top 4 are Texas games. and then you got the Georgia game. So you got 4 of your top 7 most expensive average ticket prices for games last year, this next upcoming season, are Longhorn games. Texas at Texas A&M, number 1. Texas at Michigan, number 2. Georgia at Texas versus OU, number 4. Georgia at Texas is Georgia Texas number 7 on this list. So 4 of the top 7 games are the most expensive average ticket price for games next season, Longhorn games. And you won't be at home but for one of them. Like the cheapest of those is the Georgia and Texas game, but you're going on the road and for all those big games. So that'll be really cool. But that is, and I believe that's it for Texas and Texas A&M. But think about it. I mean, so between Texas and Texas A&M, you have 6 of, you go look at it. Texas A&M is number 1. Then you got Texas number 3 versus Michigan. Texas versus Oklahoma. That's number 4. Notre Dame at Texas A&M. That's number 6. Georgia at Texas number 7. So 5 of the 7 are Texas A&M games. The most expensive average ticket. You think it means more in SEC? No, it means more in Texas. All right, we come back. We'll get into some of the coordinator audio. We hear from PK. We'll hear from Kyle Flood. Hear from Jeff Banks. Talk some Texas football. We'll go behind the burnt orange curtain as well. Got a lot to get into coming up right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn, Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about Dr. Greg Eckert and his wonderful team. I owe them a huge debt of gratitude, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. The first time I actually met Dr. Eckert and visited him at his office, I walked into the office, and I walked into a young lady who was actually crying at the time, and I thought to myself, see, this is why I don't come to the dentist office. And I didn't go to the dentist office very often back then. But turns out I was wrong. I thought that she was sad about her experience at the dentist, but she was actually crying tears of joy, she revealed to me. She had looked in the mirror, and Dr. Eckert and his team had given her the smile that she had always dreamed of, the smile she had always wanted. She was very insecure about her smile. She didn't smile a lot because she didn't really have confidence. And yet Dr. Eckert and his team went to work, gave her a beautiful smile, and she saw it for the first time, and she was brought to tears, and we were almost brought to tears too, listening to her testimony about Dr. Eckert. He can do the same for you. He can give you a brand new smile in just one day, permanently secured to your dental implants. No time spent without teeth. You'll get temporary fixtures first until they complete your permanent smile, and you'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. We're talking about a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, don't freak out. Just call Dr. Eckert today to learn about this revolutionary alternative to dentures. It's a brand new smile in just one day, a complimentary consultation, so you got nothing to lose but so much to gain, because a confident smile can truly change your life, and Dr. Eckert wants to change your life for the better. He understands the quality of your smile can truly affect the quality of your life, and he wants you to make sure you prioritize the quality of your life and prioritize your smile and prioritize your dental health. That's something that I needed to do, and thanks to Dr. Eckert and his team, I have done. I went there originally just for a cleaning and a checkup, and they found my wisdom teeth were growing in sideways, had to have them removed. It was a procedure. I was on the verge of a disastrous situation, but then Dr. Eckert and his team, they came to the rescue, folks. They'll do the same for you. So people ask me if I know a good dentist. I say, no, I know a great dentist. Doesn't matter if it's general dentistry, teeth whitening, dentures, porcelain crowns, veneers, dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, root canal therapy, whatever it takes to ensure you're getting the best quality dental care available. That's what Dr. Eckert and his team are all about. So give them a call today, 512-345-3166. That's 512-345-3166, or visit dreckert.com, DRUECKERT.com. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a One Artist Wednesday edition of the Rodcast. That's when Patrick, the Idealionaire, my co-host, he goes deep down the rabbit hole of the catalog of one specific artist, band, or group. And today, the feature of One Artist Wednesday, Def Leppard. And got some bangers from Def Leppard. I'm sure there was no shortage of them. So we appreciate my man Patrick digging into that catalog for Def Leppard for One Artist Wednesday. We also appreciate him coming up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day. Patrick, give the folks the topic for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll of the day. Which tight end will lead Texas in receptions this season? It is up on at the Horn ATX on X right now. And looking at those results right now, Gunnar Helm is leading.
That's why I voted for it, Charles. Like,
Amari Niblack not far behind. So Gunnar Helm's got 50% of the vote. Amari Niblack with 40% of the vote. And then Juan Davis and Jordan Washington getting a couple votes there each. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's the leader of that room. That is key. But just because you're the leader in the room doesn't mean you're going to be most productive, right? It's you could argue Jay Witt was the leader of the wide receiver room last year.
Yeah.
You could argue, no argument about it. Matter of fact, PK, we'll hear from PK, said Baron Sorrell is the leader in that edge room. I don't know if Baron Sorrell is going to lead that team, but you can be the leader of a room, not necessarily be the most productive person in that room. You could argue Bender might be the leader in the linebacker room right now because there's so much youth in there and unproven commodities. He's been there for 5 years now, so he could be the leader in that room. But I don't necessarily think he's going to end up being the most productive of those linebackers. So no, it's a good point. I think it's Gunnar Helm right now, but that is it'll be interesting to see what they do at tight end. My prediction is they're going to use just less tight end packages, period. I think you're going to get more pony package, 2 tailback sets. I think you're going to get more of the Big 11, Big 12 package with that extra offensive lineman. I think you get more. I think he breaks out the red package, which is that 10 personnel package that I've talked about that he had at Alabama when he had those 4 first-round wide receivers because you're so deep at wide receiver. That's my prediction is you shave off some of the usage of 12 of that 1 back 2 tight end package. You shave off a little bit of that. Then you're still going to run 11 personnel. You have a tight end there. You have a tight end when you run 21 personnel. So you'll have a tight end on the field. But in terms of having 2 tight ends on the field, I don't know if we'll get that as much. Not as much as we did last year, because last year I think he just believed in his 2 tight ends that they were more well-rounded in terms of their skill sets. These skill sets of these tight ends right now are pretty, specialized, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong about that.
And I could be curious. You could see that Juan Davis, Gunnar Helm 2 tight end set some.
You know what? That's a great point.
Where it is 2 guys that you feel can both block really well and then kind of leak out. Or maybe one of them you can try and scheme them into a place, but you feel like you can get at least some good blocking, if nothing else. There would be an interesting way because again, we played that sound for you earlier. We'll play it for you again later, but that sound of Jeff Banks basically saying there's 4 guys and really talking highly about Juan Davis. That if you do see 2 tight ends, I'd probably imagine you'd see that more than Gunnar and Amari because it's a little bit more. It's less transparent of what seems like it's going to happen, right?
Totally agree. Yeah, that's a great point because I think you are really predictable. It's like, well, I know Amari Niblack's going out on the route.
Yeah.
If you go choose one guy to block here and pass protection and one guy to go on the route, I know you're going to choose Amari Niblack to go out on the route. So I'm with you. I think that actually makes a lot of sense as to why maybe he brought up Juan Davis like that, unsolicited. I was like, hey, y'all need to start thinking about Juan Davis a little bit more. Y'all not talking about enough just because you're right. It'll add balance. And when you know you're going to throw the football, having Amari Niblack out there as your tight end, makes sense. Like everybody knows we're throwing the football, but we know he can win matchups and he can threaten teams vertical. We'll give you some of those Amari Niblack numbers later on, but there you go. Good conversation. Everybody's in a Longhorn football state of mind because first open window for practice, the media window, I should say, will be today and tomorrow. That's going to happen. Also, we obviously talked about the coordinators and them speaking to the media. They do it twice a year under Sark at the beginning of training camp and at the end of the season, right before the bowl game. So we'll hear from Kyle Flood, PK, and Jeff Banks. Before we do that, and if we don't finish up that audio, we'll do it when we go behind the burn orange curtain and talk Texas football there. All right, before we get into any of that, let's get updated. Let's get educated. Let's get informed on all the top stories of the day with my man Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros dropped their 3rd straight and 2nd in this series with the Pirates 6-2 yesterday. Hunter Brown pitched 5 2/3 innings, getting no help from an Astros defense who had 3 errors in the game before allowing a 2-run homer to Michael Taylor and to end his night. The Astros wrap up their series with the Pirates tonight with Framber Valdez on the mound. And the Rangers lost to the Cardinals 8-1 with Max Scherzer once again only lasting 4 innings, throwing just 68 pitches before being pulled due to arm fatigue. Cody Bradford, in his return from the injured list, allowed 5 runs in 2 innings, and the Rangers could not rally with their only run coming off a Wyatt Langford solo homer. The Rangers did add bullpen depth at the trade deadline, picking up left-handed reliever Andrew Chafin from the Tigers. They will look to win their series with the Cardinals today with Andrew Haney on the mound. And your current U.S. medal count at the Olympics is 27 total medals, still leading in the total medal count, but behind in the gold medal count. They have 4 gold behind China right now, leading the way with 8 golds, but 12 silver and 11 bronze is your medal count for the USA right now, and that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines there. Also, we'll get into back to the topic for the big fat poll today. Like I said, I brought this up earlier though because I was doing some makeshift research. So, because the discussion started at the beginning of the show when Patrick gave the first Horn headlines update about what Americans care more about. Do you care more about the overall medal count, or do you care more about the gold medals? Like, which one matters more to you? And obviously, as Patrick mentioned, you want your cake and eat it too. Americans would love to win both. But, let's just say you can only choose one. What matters more, the gold or the overall medal count? And I am right now, I think I'm going to lean toward the gold matters more to me now. I will say the last time the Americans, Team USA, actually lost the overall medal count, you got to go back to 1992 and 1988. You lost in 1988. You finished 3rd actually in overall medal count. The Soviet Union and East Germany beat them in overall medal count in 1988, 132, 102, and then America had 94. And Americans finished 3rd in gold medals that year. 36 behind East Germany's 37 and 55 for the Soviet Union. 1992. The unified team, which is basically kind of the scattered, I think, remnants of the Soviet Union, they actually won, and they won overall medal count and gold medal counts that year. But then after that, 1996, Team USA has won the medal count every year since overall medal count every Olympics, I should say, since then. But the last time they lost the gold medal count, 2008. Lost it to China, 48-36. So they haven't necessarily dominated the gold medal count. So I think I'm on the gold medal count. To me, matters more than the overall medal count.
Yeah,
you're not going on a 20-something year run of, 30-year run of winning, the overall medal counts. You're gonna do that anyway. You've got a formula now. That to me, that's an achievement that you've got year after year. Gold medal count hadn't been as dominant, right? 2008, just as recently as 2008, another country was able to win more gold than Team USA. So we'll see. They still got a lot of their money sports, a lot of their key sports to go in the Olympics, including track and field. They're going to win gold in basketball, some of the other sports too. So, all right, there you go. A little Olympics discussion. We'll come back to some of that in our Horn headlines and the update. But first, let's get here to some Texas football conversation and hear from the coordinators. Kyle Flood first got a chance to speak to the media yesterday. He is the offensive line coach, but also the offensive coordinator. Doesn't call the plays, Sark does, but he's definitely involved in every aspect of the offense. So here's Kyle Flood talking about the offensive line. He's asked about the state of the O-line. What are your kind of expectations for this group? Here's Kyle Flood.
Sure. We've got a lot of guys back. Only Christian, obviously has moved on to the NFL. So this is a rare year. I've had this situation a couple times. And as a coach, it's always like a really enjoyable situation to be in when now going into my 4th year here, working with these players, the number of starts returning. I think all those things raise the bar and raise expectations, to play at a really high level. And I think like those kind of expectations are a privilege. You have to earn those expectations. And I think these guys have, and I think they've got high expectations of themselves as well. So we've got high standards in that room, as a position group. And, we're looking forward to the next month of trying to make sure that we do everything we need to do to get ready for the season, not just with, I think, 5, but, I think you're really looking at more like 6, 7, 8, linemen contributing, on a regular basis. I know Sark has talked about this, the potential length of the season and the need to build depth. And the best way to build depth is to play. So, we've got, 7, 8 offensive linemen coming back that have played in games real time in competitive situations. And I think, the more we can build on that, the stronger football team and stronger unit will be.
All right, there you go. That's Kyle Flood talking about that line. 7 to 8 guys in regular, kind of playing regular and playing consistent, meaningful snaps for them. You want a rotation of guys, knock on wood, just in case somebody gets hurt. So they've been stockpiling that O-line room for a long time now. It's one of the most talented rooms in the country. He also was asked about whether Sark and the offense, whether they're going to lean heavily early on in the season on the running game because of all the new faces and all the new weapons they have in the passing game on offense. Silas Bowden wasn't even here for the spring, just got here post-spring. Matthew Golden's new, came via the transfer portal. Isaiah Bond obviously came via the transfer portal. Those are 3 of your main weapons. Jonte Cook didn't play much last season in terms of getting a lot of target share and reps. He knows the system, but on-field productivity, you haven't had a lot of experience there with him. Ryan Wingo is a freshman, so he just got here. Could be chemistry issues with that group. And he was asked, do you want to lean heavily on the run first until they establish a little bit of rapport? Here's what Kyle Flood had to say.
I don't think we look at it like that. And I've, Sark and I now, we're going into our 8th year together. I don't think we've ever really looked at it like that. And I don't think he calls the game like that. I think for us, we always strive to be balanced. And we've got, even though we don't have the returning starts necessarily here at Texas for that position group that we do at some other positions, we got a lot of confidence in that receiver room. I think I was looking at it this morning before I came in here. We've got, I think, 9 receivers who are ultimately going to take reps with the 1s and 2s this training camp. And we haven't been anything near that in the 3 previous years that we've been here. So it's a talented room. Coach Jackson's had a good offseason with those guys. And I think as we get closer to the first game, a month from now, we're going to have plenty of confidence to go in the game to try to be as balanced like we always do.
All right, Kyle Flood talking about that balance. And he and Sark, I believe they're aligned in that belief. Balance, almost like a moderation of sorts with the offense. My argument would be they're too moderate and there's too much balance actually at times within the offense. But definitely one of their key philosophies, if you will, philosophical tent poles, if you will, for them. He also was asked about the running backs in pass protection specifically, and if that is something this season that would be concerning running backs in pass protection. Here's what Kyle Flood had to say about the running backs.
I think for running backs, experience, there's no substitute for experience when it comes to pass protection. And I'll say something that I apologize that I know I've said this before to you guys. Working with a running back coach who played in the NFL is the best thing that happens to somebody who coaches the offensive line, because there's such an emphasis in that league on pass protection and making sure that the quarterback stays clean, that it becomes an emphasis in that room for Coach Choice. And he does a phenomenal job. So there are certain times of the offseason where we can do walkthroughs and things like that, where we try to take advantage of that. And I think the way our practice schedule is laid out by Sark, we get a lot of opportunities to block blitzes in practice. So I think the experience of those backs of going through it every day in training camp is going to be the best teacher they can have. They've done a good job digging in on what you can in the offseason, but it's much different when it's full speed with a real defense, and you can only get that in training camp.
Yeah, my man CJ Vogel tells a story about one of the media windows that he went to for practice and watching Bijan Robinson and DeMarvion Overshown go at it in a pass blocking drill, and DeMarvion Overshown winning the first time, like just beating Bijan, beating them pretty badly, and Tashard Choice forcing Bijan to go back out there. It's like, no, you need to go back out there. Got to get the rep, get it right. And he get out there the second time, and DeMarvion Overshown beat him again. And then Tashard Choice put him out there again and said, all right, get out there, get it right. And the third time, Bijan figured it out and won the rep. And this shows you, though, about the short choice as a coach. And that's kind of what he's talking about, that mentality, that, obsession, kind of compulsion with, hey, we got to get this right. You need to get it right. It's not enough for me to go, all right, you know what, Bijan, you'll get it next time. A couple of reps, hey, go back and think about it, and then we'll give you another rep in a couple of reps, and then you can come back fresher. Nope. Get it right now. Let's correct it on the spot. Let's address it right now, real time. And then, we'll see going forward if you continue to make those same mistakes. I think that's what makes the urgency, the immediacy of the teaching is probably what makes him a great coach. Don't let anything slide. Don't let it slide, because you let it slide and then you'll realize you're letting a lot of stuff slide. So as a coach, you address it right then and there. Boom. We got to start practicing good. That's fine, because somebody else needs to hear this too. One of the other guys need to hear this. So I'm only going to say it once so everybody listen. Okay, let's get to the running back position. We're talking about running backs in pass pro. What about the running back duo of C.J. Baxter and Jaden Blue? They're expected to carry the heavy load. But listen to who Kyle Flood brings up unsolicited and gives some props when talking about the running back duo.
Oh, I think both those guys are proven commodities. I expect both of them to play quite a bit. And I wouldn't, I wouldn't say just two either, because I think Trey Wisner's had a great offseason, and he's one of the guys I'm really excited to see this training camp.
Wouldn't say just those two. Trey Wisner. Trey Wisner got a lot of love from Sark during the spring. And now he's getting love from Kyle Flood to start a training camp. It's really good. So I think Trey Wisner's going to take on that Keelan Robinson role where, he may get 3 to 5 snaps a game, but they're impactful, right? They're impactful plays where Sark is almost scheming him up for a specific purpose. So I like that. And sometimes and I always said they need to run more pony package. You guys heard me say it. It's the most explosive, most efficient, and the most effective personnel package for Sark in his 3 years here at Texas. And it's, like you said, it's not even a question, actually. Yards per play, explosive play rate, everything you're looking at. And I think ultimately they're going to play more of it this year. But you could see some funky stuff too with Trey Wisner out there as well. Remember, they brought in 3 backs at times, ran some kind of old school looking triple option stuff a couple of times last season with Keelan Robinson in the backfield as well. They did it with Keelan Robinson and Rojo and Bijan those years, a couple of years ago. I think you could see something like that with Trey Wisner. All right. He was also asked about, it's the last cut we had from Kyle Flood. He was asked about the goals of the offense. I thought this was interesting when he was asked about, hey, what your overall goals of the offense this season? Here's Kyle Flood's response.
We want to be the most explosive offense in the country. I think that's a goal of ours every year. What does that look like? Is it pass? Is it run? Is it screens? For us in our offense, it really should be all 3 of those. There's a balance and a complexness to what we present that I think is really important to the success of this offense.
There you go. Listen, I'll say this straight up. If they want to be more explosive, they have to be more diverse, right? You have to have more variety in your offense. All of their exotic packages, meaning not their main staples, 11 personnel or 12 personnel. They're the 2 main staples, the most utilized personnel groupings. And those are, like I said, that's the identity of Sark's offense. But if you go look at all the exotic personnel groupings, like the pony package I look at, those are the most explosive. I was looking at Pro Football Focus. They have their explosive play rate. And they, based on pass rate and based on run rate. And they said, based on their analysis, Texas explosive run rate on offense was 19%, and their explosive pass rate on offense was 16%, probably rounding it up to both if you want to round them up, both of them talking about basically 20% and 17%. So their explosive play rate is probably somewhere sandwiched in between there. It's probably 18%, hovering around 18 to 17%, somewhere around there. And if that is the case, I'm looking for explosive play rates in formations, personnel groupings that is 20% or higher, right? That'd be worth you upping the usage of something like that. Well, your 6-0 line package, your Big 11, Big 12, your explosive pass play rate, you're above 20%. Your explosive play rate, you're hovering around 18%. So that's probably where Texas is naturally, but you should throw it out of that package more. And the reason it works is because the defense is thinking heavy personnel. You're presenting power to them, so they're probably thinking you're going to run the football. And then Texas flips the script, play action pass, or use it as an insulation in pass protection, so that Quinn can drop back and have some of the longer developing routes with an extra offensive lineman in the pass protect. And then now we can go match protection and allow a 2-man route combination with Xavier Worthy and AD Mitchell, time for them to run downfield vertically, rainbow crossers, or post corner routes, long developing routes where they can lose a DB, but Quinn just needs time so he can make the throw. And that's why I think that package had a really high explosive pass rate. But you go look at your pony package last year, you were 23% explosive play rates out of your pony package the last 2 years. She used more of that. Your empty formation, I've been tracking Texas empty formation for a while. Your empty formation, Texas explosive play rate is really high. You go look at it in the last 3 games last year, that includes Washington and Tech and Oklahoma State. You're upwards close to 30% explosive play rate, running your empty formation. Hell, last year against Washington couldn't even defend it. You were 4 or 5 in empty formation. Basically, the last 2 years. How about this? The last 2 years against Washington, you are 11 of 13. You got damn near an 85% completion percentage throwing out of empty, averaging over 11 yards per attempt. Those are the Alamo Bowl and then the recent bowl game. They can stop it. I don't know why he didn't run it more. They can stop it. My problem with the offense, though, it's the moderation of it at times. It's like when you have these concepts that give you disproportionately higher success rates and explosive play rates, you should use them more than 5% of the time, or what pony package is less than 10% of the time. So I think that this year you may get that in the SEC. That could be possible. You want to be the most explosive offense in the country? Got to be more diverse. Got to break out some more of those exotic looks that teams have a hard time defending. Even Nick Saban said, I have a hard time defending two tailback sets. He said, we don't see it. We don't practice against it a lot. It messes up the angle to the football, throws off all of our coverage responsibilities because we have built everything to defend spread concepts. He said he had to call a timeout when a team lined up in I formation against his defense, and they were perplexed and stupefied and didn't know what to do because it was I formation because they don't see it. It is as simple as they got to devote a lot of practice time. You play more personnel groupings. Just this advantage alone. There's only a certain amount of practice time that you're allowed, in meeting time, you're allowed to have with your players, period. All right, throughout a week before a game. Why not force your opponent to have to waste time? All right, allocating resources and allocating different periods in practice to defend concepts. Maybe they'll see them, maybe they won't, but you've already won. This is the art of war. You've already won. When they're wasting time, the 3 practice periods worried about pony package, 3 practice periods worried about empty, 3 practice periods they got to defend worried about the 6-0 line package. You've already won. Because then whatever you're going to hit them with, yeah, they may be a little bit prepared for for different elements, but they cannot be fully prepared for anything. They just going to be a little bit prepared for everything. That's why you should use more variety. Because by the end of the season, defensive coordinators are living in a hell, right? Kind of a hellscape scenario, because there's not enough time for me to prepare my players for all of the possible problems and personnel groupings and concepts you're going to present. I gotta pick and choose. I got to pick my poison and say, you know what? I think they're going to attack us like this. And what if I'm wrong? That's why. That's why you got to be more diverse. You need more variety. That alone, I'm telling you, that's at the NFL level too. CBA, dictates how much time they can spend on it. They can spend more than college kids because the college kids also got to go to class. Right? They got other obligations and they're teenagers. So they're more likely to get distracted and stay focused. So you want to have to prepare them for a lot of different things. All right, let's get to the break. We come back. We'll hear from PK. We'll also hear from Jeff Banks. Talk about the defense and special teams a little bit. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to talk some Texas defense. Hear from PK, the defensive coordinator. So first, PK was asked about the overall goals of his defense. Last season, I believe he wanted to improve on third down defense. They were a top 5 third down defense. He wanted more takeaways and more sacks. They got more sacks. They got more takeaways. He said he wanted to improve situationally, I believe, like red zone, those areas. And I think he checked all those boxes. They literally improved in every category that he mentioned last season when he spoke to the media prior to training camp starting. And so he's asked again, and I think they asked him actually based on those goals from last season. What are your goals for this upcoming season for the defense? And here's what PK had to say.
Well, those we got to keep. We got better at those, and we got to keep that up. We were really good on third down. Got better affecting the quarterback. Sack numbers went up. The big emphasis this year is the fundamentals of football, right? Block destruction across the board. DBs, linebackers, D-line, they do that all the time. Creating turnovers, creating fumbles. That's an emphasis. I think we got 16 or so picks last year, which is pretty good. And just like to get some more production as far as punching the ball out. And then tackling. We did a little study, and we did a lot better job. We did a pretty good job. It was like 80% tackling success. If we can just bump that up, 5%. A lot of those pass yards that we gave up would go down because of missed tackles. But as a whole, we did a pretty good job of that. But like everything every year, you're always trying to find that little bit extra, little slight edge that's gonna take you over the hump.
All right, and if Texas is going to improve as a defense and get over that hump, Anthony Hill is going to be a big part of it. Anthony Hill is making a transition this season to inside line, to basically to middle linebacker, I should say, because of the loss of Jalen Ford. He's basically going to replace Jalen Ford in that role. Here's PK when PK was asked about Anthony Hill making that transition to middle linebacker.
Well, that's his natural position. Yeah, that's his natural position. We put him off the edge last year, just as a freshman, just a little bit less thinking, just go and play ball, and you saw him do that, making some big plays in games, just rushing the passer and playing defensive end. But his natural position is inside linebacker, and so moving him into that Jalen Ford role, and then we do a pretty good job of moving those guys around. So you're still going to see him off the edge doing some different things that way. But he just has a nose for the ball. I joked with him last year during the offseason. You're a hell of a linebacker. You're a hell of a football player, but you're not a very good linebacker. And it was a compliment because he has a nose for the ball. He makes plays. But like the details of playing linebacker, he needed to get better at. Yeah, he has.
Yeah, this is a good compliment. I remember saying something similar about Sam Ehlinger early on in his quarterback development. I was like, he's a football player trying to play quarterback, and I was like, when he learns how to play quarterback, it's just going to be a game changer. And he did. I think he learned how to play the position a little bit more. But that is not, by the way, a diss at all. Honestly, I think it's the ultimate compliment. You're so good at the sport of football that you don't even need to refine your skill set specifically for that position or cultivate your craft. You're just so damn good and skilled athletically that you can play at the highest level without necessarily being great or elite at that specific position. Your instincts and your football IQ and acumen, they can kind of carry you. And he has natural good football IQ too, angles to the football, diagnosing plays, but learning how to play linebacker is very different. I think, and that's why Michael Parsons don't want to play linebacker like they like, nah, I don't want to play, because he doesn't want to have to learn what PK is mentioning here. Like you can just be a better football. You can be a raw instinctual football player on the edge and not have to worry about the subtle nuances of learning the fundamentals and your technique and having to execute it play after play consistently like you do at linebacker, or you get blown off the ball and your athleticism doesn't shine as much. You can't showcase it as much as you can on the edge. That's why they said they put him on the edge last year. So now let's go on the edge. Go sick ball. Go see ball, sick ball, and go out there and just use your speed on the edge. And that's what he was doing. Now they want to come in. You get closer to the ball, everything happens faster, and I need you to be processing all of the different, pre-snap clues that you are given. You're going to be a lot of the air traffic controller. You're going to be getting the front situated. You're going to be telling guys on the back end what to do. That's a lot on a young player's plate when at first you were just a guy that was just rushing off the edge. And I said that I compared to Micah because that's why Micah wants to be on the edge. That's why people call him selfish, or somebody's called him selfish. Jesse Holiday is because, yeah, you would, if you would learn to play linebacker more and learn how to be a better run defender, it may not necessarily be easy, but it would definitely help the team more. And it'd make you a better player. In a sense, that's kind of Micah too. He just wants to go out there and be a football player. I don't want to learn how to play linebacker. And you don't have to learn how to play edge. It's more instincts on the edge. That's why he put a young buck out there. Go out there and play the edge. At linebacker, you got to know how to play it. Instincts only take you so far at linebacker. Trust me. In fact, they may hurt you sometimes. Your instincts without the fundamentals and the technique to back it up. All right, so that's Coach talking about Anthony Hill. He also was asked about Johnny Nansen and the background he has with Johnny Nansen coming in as new the co-DC and now the linebackers coach. Here is PK discussing his relationship, long-standing one with Johnny Nansen.
It's been great. We worked together at Montana State. I've known Johnny a long time, and he's been awesome. He's bringing in some stuff that he did at Arizona. It's going to help us, and he does a good job with his linebackers, and he's a good recruiter, and it's been awesome.
Great recruiter, actually. I mean, he's the first one to hit up Javion Cole, the corner you brought in. He's the one that had connections with Tia Savea, with Lole and Bill Norton, help you get those guys. He's already paid huge dividends and hugely beneficial in the recruiting realm. But I think he's going to bring a lot of his exotic elements to the table, things that he did there at Arizona. Nobody's defense was more matchup based and more exotic, changed week to week than Johnny Nansen's defense at Arizona. I mean, you could see it 1 week running the quarters package, dollar package, or joker package. You could see him, they'll run dime, they'll run nickel, 3-4, 4-2-5, 3 high safeties, double eagle flex. They threw everything in the kitchen sink at you. And PK's defense are a lot more traditional, more static looks. That's not going to be the case with Johnny Nansen influence. I think you're going to get some of those exotic elements and also more run blitzes because Johnny Nansen like run blitzes. That would make sense, especially with the linebackers Texas has blitzing up through the interior gaps. You're also going to see more single high safeties. Matter of fact, PK was asked about, I believe Ian Boyd asked him, who's a fellow football theorist like myself over at Inside Texas, asked him, hey, are you going to go back to more of your single high looks, especially because Johnny Nansen in Arizona had ran more single high looks than any team in the Power 5. And when Pete Kwiatkowski was on the West Coast, he also ran more single high looks. When he got to the Big 12 and Gary Patterson came on the staff, gave him the cheat code or kind of the cliff notes, if you will, to the Big 12 conference, that's when he adopted more of the pattern match cover 4 quarters mentality and philosophy, which now Texas, that's kind of their go-to coverage. They run match quarters at probably a top 5 rate in the Power 5. And I think now they want more variety and versatility with their coverages. They want to play more man coverage. That's your single high looks, cover 1 and cover 3. You can also play match out of cover 3. They want to play more man, and I think you're going to end up with them playing more single highs this season. And his response was, there's no question there's a place for post defense, and we'll see. But he said it in a way where there are a lot of pauses in between, and he said it in a way where I think he didn't want to reveal something like that to a very knowledgeable football mind, potentially even a coach or a scout for another team that, they're gonna run a lot more cover 1 this year, and we're preparing for them to run a lot of too high pattern match cover 4, yet they're gonna come in and run a lot of cover 3 and cover 1 with the Johnny Nansen influence. So I think that's what that's about. Next cut here is him talking about the star position. Remember, I told you guys, I said if Jalen Gilbo is indeed trustworthy, and Sarkis talked about him a lot, and if Jalen Gilbo is trustworthy enough to play the nickel, remember they can move Jadae Barron out to corner. I said that's their solution, I think, to any potential issues that may arise with the cornerback position opposite Malik Muhammad, the one Nick Saban's concerned about. Here is Coach PK talking about that star position and he's echoing something very similar.
What's between Jalen Gilbo, and Jade? We're going to play some. Jade's going to play some corner too. Gilbo's had an unbelievable, outstanding offseason. So getting him back to where he was confidence-wise his freshman year, I think we're starting to see that again. And so I'm optimistic that either one of those guys is going to be good at that position. But if Gilbo can step up, then we can do some different things with Jade.
All right. So they're thinking just like I'm thinking. Hey, Gilbo, if you're the man, hey, that allows us to move Jade Barron around. Speaking of Jade Barron, moving around, and I remember talking about this last year when I saw a piece from Chip Brown that said that Gary Patterson believed that Jade Barron had a skill set to play safety in the Big 12, and that he had that type of they said football acumen and football IQ. And we know he played nickel and he played corner last year, actually won you a game coming off the bench after being injured and didn't start because of his injury, came off the bench to help you win the U of H game playing cornerback. Here is PK saying something very similar, that Jade Barron is possible. He says it very casually, can play every position in the secondary.
No, I mean, we're always looking to try and get the best 11 on the field. And so to do that, you got to have competition. And then his ability to be able to play corner, safety, or star helps us, pushes other guys, and everybody wants to play. And so you got to show up day in and day out and prepare to the best of your ability. So I think he only helps that situation. But as far as lobbying, we're always looking to move guys to, if he's the best corner, you're going to play corner.
So you're going to have two players in your secondary that can play any position in the secondary. Remember, Dabo Swinney is on the record for saying Makuba can play corner, played safety, played nickel for him. And now you're saying Jade Barron can do the same thing. It's that versatility they've been talking about. Last cut here. Let's talk about the edges and how deep that room is. Well, listen to PK. That room is so deep, PK loses track of all of his edges. Here it is.
We got some length, got some twitch, got some power. It's a good combination. The leader of that group is Barron Sorrell. He's coming back for his fourth year, and he's all business. And again, he's another guy that's had a really good offseason. He's really good for that room. And then the addition of Trey and Colin are going to, add a different element to that room, what they can do coming off the edge. And then, Colton Vasek is healthy, right? See what he can do. And then, Burke's been a very productive player for us, and his length is hard to deal with. But there's then really the only guy that's, who am I missing there? Zena. Zena's a new freshman. We'll see how he progresses. But yeah, I feel good about all seven of them. Yeah. Justice is definitely a guy that's played a lot, and he can play either position.
Like, that's how deep they're. Like, oh yeah, don't forget about Justice. Forget about that good too. That is a very, very deep room. And he did say that Colin Simmons and Trey Moore bring something different to that room. I think he's talking about speed off the edge, that BGO, that ball get off. We'll play the Jeff Banks cuts. Only two of them we have. We'll play those in the 9 o'clock hour after we get to my man Nick Shuley with Setlist ATX. But coming up next on the show, we got Off the Record. Couple of stories off the record. Xavier Worthy is upset. We'll tell you why. He may protest. We'll tell you what he's going to protest. And also the Kelsey brothers are asking for what? Well, all of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time for another edition of Off the Record. A couple of stories here. So Xavier Worthy is upset, and I think he's got good reason to be upset. He said he potentially, at least the report is, he's going to protest. He's boycotting the Madden video game. This comes after EA only gave him a 98 speed overall. He did record the fastest 40-yard dash time in combine history. So he could make the argument, I'm the fastest man in the history of the NFL, or at least the NFL combine. So, yeah, well, I think he's got a good point. So does basically Madden want to see him apply that speed in an NFL game at the NFL level like Tyreek Hill has, and go like, okay, now it translates. It's real football speed. Boom, we'll give you 99. Or are they just being kind of rookie hazing here? Like, no, rookie.
I think they're being petty.
Yeah, come on, man. He ran the fastest time at the combine.
I think this goes into Texas hate. I'm gonna go with this as Texas hate.
Oh,
that somebody wants to just stick it to the Longhorns one more time and put them in 98 instead of 99.
Yeah,
you know
what?
That'll get them.
That's a nice theory. I see some Longhorn fans taking that perspective. But yeah, I don't know. What's the argument against the 99? No, he's not.
I don't know. I know, but it's so much more frustrating. So if he was like a 95, you'd be like, oh, you guys are just wrong. But when you're one off, it's expert trolling. It's expert trolling.
Yeah. So you did that on purpose. That wasn't some algorithm y'all put together. No, you did that. Somebody had him at a 99. Somebody asked a question, I'm sure, like, hey, why don't we just make him 99? And so one of y'all, I don't know who, they actually went out of their way to take the stands and argue the point. No, he should be a 98, not a 99.
Yeah. I'm curious if they do. I mean, it could be too that they say no rookie gets a 99 anything.
And once I got to go look at the history of it, maybe and see did John Ross get a? Not remember he had the record before that. Did he have a 99? Has any rookie ever had a 99 speed? And if that's the case, maybe you're right. Maybe they can say like no rookie's ever had a 99 speed.
Which he still should have because he's the fastest. But
exactly, if there's any exception to the rule, it should be him. He read the fastest time in the history of the NFL combine. Come on.
So I also need to see what Tyreek Hill's speed is because I know Tyreek Hill has entered the 99 club.
I think he's a 99. That's a good point.
Because he's a 99 overall.
Speed. He should be a 9. Then his speed should be 99 too.
It should be, but
yeah.
I think Xavier Worthy wins in a race.
Nobody should get it. If he doesn't get a 99, nobody should get one though.
So do they put it here that they say he's 99 so that someone ever has to be below him?
Could be. Maybe they're like, he's the fastest guy in the league. There's nobody on his level.
I mean, he was the fastest guy in the
league. At football speed, they may be saying still is. And I don't, yeah. That's a, you know what? That'd be a great race between X-Man and Tyreek Hill. And I would pay money to see it. I would pay money. Okay, let's get to another off the record here. Okay, so how about this? The Kelsey brothers. They have that New Heights podcast they've been doing.
Yes.
And of course, obviously Jason Kelsey just retired. Travis Kelsey is probably getting close to retirement, but he's dating the biggest celebrity on the planet.
He did just sign a new contract, but
he did, but I think it was just to get him his payday.
Yes.
Because remember, he used to be grossly underpaid.
It all depends.
Even for tight ends,
let's put it this way. It all depends on if they three-peat, it could be all right, we did it, walk away for a lot of people.
Yes, it could. Yes, totally agree. I totally agree with that. Well, apparently him and his brother, they do that New Heights podcast, and it is wildly popular, especially because one of them is dating the biggest celebrity on the planet, Taylor Swift. They said they're right now via the Sports Business Journal, the Kelseys are seeking a new deal. It's in the range of $100 million for a once per week show. Damn. And you know what? All they got to do is be like, man, I'll get Taylor Swift on there once a month. Like, deal. That is wild. That's some wild numbers right there.
Did they get Dave Mulugeta?
Seriously, who is their agent? They asking for $100 million. Who's gonna give it? Because they basically want to become kind of they want to do something close to what the Mannings have done too. I think, well, some broadcast networks want them to do that. They want them to have like a game.
The simulcast has become very big.
Yes, they want them to do like that. But this is not that though. I think this is just them talking about their podcast. I'm like, it's not that. It's funny. Is it $100 million?
$100 million funny?
Ain't that funny? Damn. I mean, you got Dave Chappelle on there every week with you? I mean, who's is it just the Kelceys? Because I mean, if it's the Kelceys and I get Taylor Swift once a month, I'm like, all right, maybe we'll
I feel like that's one of those things where you're like, when you get that money, it somewhat ruins the fun of it for like the fan. Because now you're because now you're part of the system, like you're part of it. And if before it was like you guys are kind of these weird, funny guys, and even though you are Hall of Fame football players, it didn't feel like you were part of the system. And then once you get that money, it feels like you're part of the system now.
You're right, McAfee is the McAfee thing. You know, it happens in music, right? It's you sold out. It's like used to be underground and everybody loved you. And it was like, oh, now you're mainstream. You must have sold out. And it's like, well, isn't that the goal?
I'm not blaming them if they take the money.
No, I agree. I see what you're saying. No, I understand totally what you're saying. There's that element to it where it feels like it loses some of its authenticity, its street cred, if you will. Like Pat McAfee's like, that's why they remember on ESPN they let him cuss. They still let them cuss. They're like, no, if we can't cuss, then people are gonna be like, we sold out, man. They want us to cuss when we doing it. So they put like the parental guidance thing up there, like Pat McAfee's gonna cuss on ESPN. Like, why is he cussing? He's like, cause he needs to keep the street cred. He can't go Will Smith all of a sudden because he's on ESPN. That's part of what made him cool.
Guys.
Yeah. Mother sucker, man. That's not cool. Yeah. That gonna sound the same. All right, that's a good point though. You're right about that, but they may get it, man.
They may.
That would be
world,
crazy.
Man.
Yeah, because I think people want the end with them, and so they can get them on the a game cast, like you said, of some kind. And I guess this would be the end. But $100 million for a podcast. Wow. I guess I got to start working on my podcast game. All right, we'll come back. We got my man Nick Shuley. He knows about great podcasts. Matter of fact, I'm on a great podcast with Nick Shuley, Third and Longhorn. It's blowing up. My man Fozzie Whitaker, Alex Okafor. We got Jeremy Hills on there. It's a great group. Derek Johnson. I know at least the last one is the Hall of Famer that I didn't mention. But Derek Johnson, my man's on there. So we got some great stuff going there. But we're gonna bring on Nick Shuley, not to talk about Third and Longhorn, but to talk about Setlist, ATX, all the great musical acts that are going to be in town, and he'll tell you exactly how you can go see him. We'll have that coming up, and also NFL news notes and nuggets from training camp for the Cowboys and for the Texans. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a One Artist Wednesday. That's when my co-host, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis, goes deep down the rabbit hole into the catalog of one specific artist, group, or band. And today, the feature of One Artist Wednesday, Def Leppard. Yeah, it's a good one right there. That's a strip club, one of the strip club anthems.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
it is.
Yeah. It's still to this day kind of brings back some of those memories, which are all good memories. I'm not hating on that at all. But I don't go there very often anymore. But thank you, Patrick, for the One Artist Wednesday. Also, Patrick comes up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day, which is Longhorn football related, because we're all in a Longhorn football state of mind because they start practice today. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are done with the offseason officially. They have started training camp today, and the topic for the big fat poll of the day reflects some Texas football conversation.
Yes, which tight end will lead Texas in receptions this season? Right now, Gunnar Helms still leading the way with 50% of the vote. Amari Niblack's got about 40% of the vote. Juan Davis and Jordan Washington filling out the rest of the 10%. But that is a question because we've listened to Jeff Banks talk about all four tight ends, saying all four are going to get some run. All four could get playing time this season. So who do you think will be lead Texas in receptions? Not yardage, not touchdowns.
Not touchdowns, yeah.
But in receptions. So in usage rate pretty much of how many people are going to get out there and get routes run and then actually convert on those routes.
Yep. Because basically, if you're leading receptions, there's a good chance you led in targets.
Yes.
We won't ask you to do targets because targets is hard to keep up with. You got to be doing some deep dives to find target share and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I agree with you on receptions. It's something everybody can relate to. And I think it's Gunnar Helm. You're looking for a tight end that doesn't necessarily have to lead the field and that isn't going to make you predictable. And right now, I love Amari Niblack's skill set. I mean, he's a freak. We'll get into this when we hear from Jeff Banks. But he makes you predictable because he's such a subpar run blocker and blocker, period, that we assume when he's out there, he's going to be running a route, which means it's going to be a pass.
Yeah.
So your pass rate is probably going to be some ridiculous number, like 75%. When Amari Niblack's on the field, it's going to be, okay, well, he's on the field, pass. Let's go to pressure packages. Let's go to our pass defense, that kind of stuff. Gunnar Helm gives you more balance. And what do we hear Kyle Flood say all the time? What do we hear Sark talk about all the time? Balance, moderation, balance. That's not Amari Niblack. Amari Niblack's more extreme. We know what we're doing. And, hey, we're going balls to the ball because we understand this guy can beat one-on-one. He can stretch the field vertically better than any team potentially in college football. And we want to present problems to the defense. So I think Gunnar Helm he presents the balance that they want, that they believe they're trying to achieve, I should say.
Unless we see Amari Niblack use that natural strength. The natural
strength. Natural strength is something that is true. Because we have grown man strength. There's dad strength.
Yeah.
You know, your dad. Somehow your dad didn't necessarily your dad work out, but he was always strong. He was like, "How's my dad so strong? He's not lifting any weights, but your dad always had this dad strength." He was like, "Where the hell did it come from?" I think God gives you extra strength when you compare. You've seen mom strength is real. Like I've seen my wife's got mom strength all of a sudden. Like my wife be carrying the baby and like pick up something with one hand and I'll go pick it up after and go, "This is heavy. How the hell do you pick it up with one hand?" Like, I don't even have a kid, and this is like, she's like, "Oh, I don't worry about it. I had to get it done." I'm like, "You had to get it done?" Like, so she's gaining mom strength, and I think God gives you this when He knows you're gonna need it, especially when you're approaching parenthood. It's like, now I got to get them some extra strength. They're gonna need it. So I think that natural strength is out. Country strong. Country strong is also real. People in the country are stronger than people in the city. They just are. They always have been. People in the city need to work out to be strong. No, people in the country ain't worked out at all. They sitting around doing, farm work, stuff like that, working the land and getting strong as a result of it. So country strong, dad strength, mom strength. These are real things.
Yes.
And I think naturally strong, maybe that's a real thing.
Maybe, hey, if he can block with it this year, we'll love it.
Well, exactly.
We'll be looking for every tight end. You got natural strength?
Does he have natural strength? Oh, he's got country strength. That's cool. Once he got one of them, country strong, natural strong, one of those. All right, we'll get to my man Nick Shuley. He might know a little something about country strong. We'll talk about that with Nick Shuley. But Nick Shuley will have the Setlist ATX coming up. We'll talk some music on the show. I will also ask him about the Olympics. I want to get his thoughts. My question that I presented about the Olympic medal count earlier. I want to ask my man Nick Shuley about that too. And then we'll also dive into some NFL news, notes, and nuggets after we get done with Setlist ATX. Also, Raj rant that'll be coming up. That's NFL related too. We'll cram all that into one segment if we have to. But first, let's get updated. Let's get educated. Let's get informed with all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, the Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the MLB, the Astros dropped their third straight and second in this series with the Pirates 6-2 yesterday. Hunter Brown pitched 5 2/3 innings, getting no help from an Astros defense who had 3 errors in the game before allowing a 2-run homer to Michael Taylor to end his night. The Astros wrap up their series with the Pirates tonight with Framber Valdez on the mound. And the Rangers lost to the Cardinals 8-1 with Max Scherzer once again only lasting 4 innings, throwing just 68 pitches before being pulled due to arm fatigue. Cody Bradford, in his return from the injured list, allowed 5 runs in 2 innings, and the Rangers could not rally with their only run coming off a Wyatt Langford solo homer. The Rangers did add bullpen depth at the trade deadline, picking up left-handed reliever Andrew Chafin from the Tigers. They will look to win their series with the Cardinals today with Andrew Haney on the mound. And looking at our current USA medal count, still currently in the lead overall with 27, but still in 7th place in the gold medal count with 4. China leading the way with 8. But 12 silver and 11 bronze for the USA right now. And that is your Horn Headlines.
USA, USA. Should get the USA chant going. All right, let's not waste any time because he is a busy man. He's got things to do. Let's bring on Nick Shuley, the one and only Nick Shuley, who's going to obviously present us with Setlist ATX. We appreciate him for that. But first, I got a couple of questions for him. But how you doing, Nick? How's everything going, brother?
Man, I'm great. How are you doing, Rod?
Doing good, man. Thank you for joining us. How much of the Olympics have you been watching? Watching a lot of Olympic coverage?
Patrick and I were just talking about that. I've been watching it a ton. It's nice. I'll be at my I guess I shouldn't say this on the radio, but I'll be at my desk at work with like a little window open in the corner, get my stuff done, but still like keeping an eye on what's going on. It's been great, man. I just love having all these sports on at all times. It's been such a good summer.
Yeah, multitasking, man. That's good stuff. You can do that. So let me ask you this, because I threw out the question earlier. What matters more to you as an American? Let's say you had to choose one. Obviously, we want our cake and eat it too. The overall medal count or the gold medal count? Which one do you want to win more?
Well, we as Americans tend to pick the category that we win, so I think that generally we put more importance on overall medal count. But I think if you just look at it logically, the actual medal you win is way more important because we have a lot more. I don't know what the count is on athletes, but I have a feeling we've got more than a lot of these countries. So it's almost like what's the percentage of medals won compared to the percentage of athletes participating.
Oh,
so
nice.
Well, I think I put it on.
Guy.
Well, I mean, it's kind of unfair to be like, yeah, we won. We had 700 athletes in here and won, 600 medals, and then somebody else is like, well, we had 5 and won 4 medals. So you're like, well, that might be a little bit better.
It's a better ratio. No, you're right about that. Last time Team USA lost in the gold medal count was 2008. They lost to China. Ever since then, they've won the gold medals in the Olympics in that time span. And the overall medal count, last time Team USA lost the overall medal count, you got to go back to 1992 and 1988. Wow. 1988, Soviet Union and East Germany had more. And in 1992, it was the United team. It was basically kind of the remnants of the old Soviet Union, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that's the last time, and I think that's when Patrick was like, "Hey, I think that was a lot of the incentive for Team USA all around the different sports to try to get more pros and more elite athletes involved instead of just the amateurs."
That makes sense.
Amateurism.
Yeah, because that's around the time the Dream Team came around, and now as the why is Russia beating us and everything. Let's put together the Dream
because
Team.
They're cheaters.
They're cheaters.
They're cheating. That's what's going on. They're cheating, man.
I will say today I've got on my I wish I had one, my South Sudan basketball shirt. I actually tried to find one online, but I couldn't find it just so I could rep for Royale and the South Sudanese. It will be the first time in my life, well, second, because last time they played them, I was definitely rooting for South Sudan over the U.S. But I think I want U.S. to win the whole thing, but I want South Sudan to win today.
Yeah, man, Royal Ivy, he's becoming, a more household name among basketball fans with what he's done with South Sudan and coaching. So we'll see what they say. That the country it's the world's youngest country.
That's crazy. Years old. 13 years old, and they don't have any indoor basketball facilities in their country.
No, nope. And it's crazy that Luol Deng, remembering how much grief he got for that contract, that last contract, and everyone's like, "Oh, what a waste!" And and then you're just like, "Oh, we actually did something really cool with it."
Oh, I started a whole federation, or I funded a whole federation that and they're fun to watch, man. Today should be a good game. I think that it's going to be tough for South Sudan to pull it out, but they almost did it last time. I have a feeling the U.S. is going to be a little more locked in today.
And it's the KD factor.
That KD factor is pretty big.
KD wasn't on that. KD, they're a different team with KD out
That's
there.
A fact.
He really is. He's such a unique freak.
Oh my gosh. Well, he and Royale are best friends. Like they are super, super tight. So that it's gonna be,
that's a good point.
Yeah, so that'll actually be funny to see them. I hope they show the the pregame embrace or what have you, because they're tight as can be.
Yeah, I didn't I didn't even think about that. And you were doing you're still doing the podcast with, not obviously not right now. But you were doing a podcast with Royale Ivy, and right, who else was on?
Yeah, it was Roy and DJ Augustine. Yeah, we're on a little hiatus right now. Obviously, they have a couple things going on, especially Roy. Yeah. But he's fantastic. We were roommates post college, and he's just a good guy. He'd come live with us in the summers. While he play it, come back in between the NBA seasons and play at Gregory in the summer with all the guys.
There you go. See, my man Nick Shuley, he's got a lot of random stories that he can tell you, and you'd be like, "Oh, look, you were roommates with Royal Ivy." Some people are like, "What, really?"
I'm so almost cool, Rod. Almost cool. I am right there, man. It's
cool
one
adjacent.
Day. Yeah. One day I'm gonna cross that cool line.
No, I know the feeling. I know the feeling of being cool
I like
adjacent.
that cool adjacent. I love that.
Yeah,
that is actually a perfect description of Nick. It really is.
That's that. You throw a party and everybody goes, "Who's going?" Go, because man, you can throw the biggest party. If you get certain people to show up, that party is awesome. But if those people don't show up, I ain't hanging out with you, man.
I love that.
That is a great description, though, because Nick knows every damn body. First of all, I would say that he definitely knows everybody. I can drop Nick's name and usually kind of get a reaction somewhere around there. But also, we learned he used to be a DJ. Right. Mm-hmm. Speaking of cool adjacent, he's like a DJ.
The background guy in the group too. It's
that's the thing.
It's a common theme in my life, I guess.
Yeah, that is. You know what? Ain't nothing wrong with that, brother. You just you're very close to greatness. You know how to recognize greatness. That also is a talent. All right, let's get to my man Nick Shuley Setlist ATX. So we know he's got things to do. We always start with today the Setlist ATX. Some of the biggest musical acts that'll be in town, or at least here in Central Texas, and where you can go see them. So let's start off with Nick. Wednesday today, Setlist ATX.
Yeah, tonight at the 04 Center. It's the I guess you say it early 2000s songwriter heartthrob Howie Day will be there. And then over at Monk's Jazz Club, Magna Carta, who are one of the best Austin hip hop groups, they'll be performing there. And then the biggest artist right now in the world, not named Taylor, Zach Bryan, will be at the Frost Bank Center for the second night of his San Antonio run.
Do you really believe that, or did you just say? Because I think he's amazing. Like his last album, also, I still been listening to it every time I do anything that I run or yard work. Zach Bryan's on. I mean, he really is a transcendent artist, because I think he has transcended the genre, in my opinion.
Yeah, as far as,
do you believe that he's the second most popular artist right now?
I'd have to check the numbers. I'm sure there's some, Harry Styles or somebody like that's bigger, but he, just as far as momentum goes and actually touring right now, that guy it's a force. And it's not, to sell out the Frost Bank Center 2 nights in a row, he probably could have sold it out, 5, but he probably moved to the next town.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, because I believe you. That's why I'm like, it feels like that to me, because right now in my musical kind of world, he's been really big.
Yeah, so, I have a buddy who got on one of his playlists. He's a local artist, and he was trying to figure out why some random song on his album jumped, like 25,000 plays, and it was because he got put on a Zach Bryan playlist that he had no idea about, and he finally figured it out. But it's the guy. everything he touches right now is just crushing.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And then
Thursday,
tomorrow night, there's a good hip hop show over at Antone's with Dizzy Wright, as well as an artist from San Antonio who I really, really like. Brandon Pattier will be playing at the Saxon Pub. He also has a really, really great country cover band of all San Antonio people, and they all dress in these like 80s jackets that say they're called the Texases, and they all have different names, but they do like George Strait covers and all this stuff. And yeah, I had no idea who they were, and I walked into a show and I had the most fun I've had in forever. So they're coming to Austin in the next couple weeks. I'll let everyone know. They're definitely worth the watch. And Brand is super talented. This is a little more of his like serious songwriter side, but it'll be good. And then Friday out at the Germania Amphitheater at Coda, this huge 90s / early 2000s show. We've got Third Eye Blind with Yellow Card and Arizona, which is an interesting mix of artists, but a bunch of big artists that would probably be a cool show. And then Dripping Springs finest resident Sam Beam will be playing at ACL Live, and he goes by Iron and Wine is his performing name.
Oh, okay.
And then another one of these groups that sells out the Moody Center that I have to do research on, and I found out a lot about them. Grupo Firme will be playing at the Moody Center, and they are a regional Mexican band based in Tijuana, Baja California. And I found out that regional Mexican is actually the genre of music, which is similar to country in like Mexico, etc. So and they're famous for they dress in old Western wear a lot of time and things like that. But I think this is kind of the new school. But don't quote me on that. You'll have to do your own research.
And they said they sold out the Moody Center.
Yeah, so they're doing okay.
They're big time. Yeah,
wow. Yeah. We might think they'll be successful. And then two really good old Americana staples, Dave Alvin and Jimmy Dale Gilmore will be at the 04 Center. And then on Saturday, speaking of One Direction members, Niall Horan will be playing with Del Watergap at Moody Center. And yeah, if I guess if Niall from One Direction can sell out the Moody Center and Harry Styles can sell it out 8 times, they might be a little bigger than Zach Bryan, but they're still they're all doing okay. We don't have to worry about their financial means. And then really good Austin artist Shane Smith and the Saints from a lot of Yellowstone fame, etc., will be playing at Whitewater. And Joshua Bassett of High School Musical fame will be playing at ACL Live. Austin staples, the Peterson Brothers, will be at Continental Club. Another Austin staple, Bob Schneider, will be out at Green Hall on Saturday. And then one of my favorites to go see, just a good songwriter, storyteller. I think Jack's at the point where he talks more now than he plays, but he's a great storyteller. And he's worth getting out to see. It's always a good time. Jack Ingram will be at the 04 Center. And then on Sunday, a huge college band from when I was in school, OAR, will be playing with Fits and the Tantrums at ACL Live. Bruce Robeson does his cool town dance at Devil's Backbone Tavern. And then a big one that I'm going to turn over to Patrick for, because he does this every year, and it's such a cool deal. I'll let you take it on this one, Patrick.
Yeah, Sunday we'll do Obi Fest over at Seaboys Heart and Soul down there. Nice little cool venue. It'll be Sunday night. Getting together, we celebrate MC Overlord's birthday every year. It was a big piece of Austin music for many, many years, passed away a few years back. So we throw a tribute show to him every year, get a bunch of cool, awesome musicians. They get together. So we'll have Curtis Lee play, Mike and the Bernals play, and then a jam where a bunch of people are just going to get up and, get some MCs up, doing some freestyling, and then some other guys playing some songs, some stuff that Obi was a feature on. And it'll be a fun night on a Sunday night if you want to get out late on a Sunday over at Seaboys.
That's awesome.
Boys. Okay.
And yeah, if you grew up in Austin, Overlord was hip hop in Austin,
yes.
Especially I remember the early 90s, or it was mid 90s. He was everything. I found his sampler in the bin at Waterloo Records, and that's how I found out about him. I used to go see, I think I saw him at the old Antones a couple times.
He's been over there.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So good stuff. Definitely worth celebrating the legend. And then Monday, Bob Schneider will be doing a show at the Saxon with his staple Monday night show with Lonely Land. And then on Tuesday, a really cool show. They're doing an Austin tribute to Elliott Smith, who was a really good, really, really depressing songwriter, and he passed away at his own accord. And they're doing a tribute to him at Hotel Vegas, so that'll be a cool one.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that, Nick, man. Appreciate all the breakdown, the set list ATX, and we appreciate the time, because I know you are a busy man. People don't think Nick Shuley has a job. Nick Shuley has a 9 to 5. He actually works. He actually is supposed to be working, but he does like 3 or 4. He's a great multitasker. There's like 3 or 4 other things also on the side, but the man works. So we appreciate him taking the time. So thank you, Nick. We appreciate you, brother.
And we know you have to sneak off at 2 p.m. today too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Definitely going to have a meeting off site at 2 p.m. I hope no one from work listens to this.
No, that's why we love Nick, man. He's also devoted, no question about it. Hey, thank you, Nick. We appreciate you, brother. Enjoy the rest of the day,
man. Thank you as always for the time. Y'all have a good one.
All right, that is the one and only Nick Shuley breaking down Setlist ATX. All right, we come back. We'll try to get to that. We'll get to that. We won't try. We will. We'll get to the Jeff Banks sound. We'll get to you all the training camp news, notes, and nuggets from the Texans and the Cowboys, and we'll throw it into all Raj round the day. So we're just kind of all making a smorgasbord of NFL discussion, NFL training camp news, notes, and nuggets on the other side, right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Aside from the traffic, Austin is a great city. Even with the traffic, it's still a great city, folks. And traffic is just another sign that the city is growing and thriving. And one of the reasons it's growing and thriving is courtesy of our good friends at Ironworkers Local 482. Many of the iconic landmarks that you recognize and love in this city are actually created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482, like the Pennybacker Bridge and DKR Stadium. The folks over at Ironworkers Local 482 don't just go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity or a refreshing career change, or you want a new challenge, or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local 42. And right now is a perfect time to do it. They're hiring over 3,000 people for another huge project right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. So right now is a perfect time for you to become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that help shape the future of our great city. So go online today and apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into Rod's Round of the Day. It'll be a smorgasbord of different items that we're going to hit here, including some audio of the folks on the show Get Up with some disrespect to Dak Prescott, if you will, and a report about Cowboys fatigue potentially nationally at Cowboys training camp out there on the West Coast. We'll get to that audio, and also we'll discuss how the DJ Moore deal actually can teach the Cowboys a lesson about their situation with CeeDee Lamb, and we'll also get you an update from Clarence Hill, Fort Worth Star-Telegram, about the CeeDee Lamb contract negotiations happening with the Dallas Cowboys. But first, I want to get into some training camp news, notes, and nuggets from around the league. Got a few of these that I think are worth mentioning from around the league. So let's start with the Texans. The Texans training camp updates. Jalen Petrie, they're basically calling him positionless now. They've seen him work at nickel. They've seen him working at safety. There are even some sub packages where he is essentially a makeshift linebacker they're moving around. I love that, by the way. I think Petrie is just a very instinctive player. And I think you want him in positions where you can just kind of where he can use his natural God-given instincts and football IQ to just make plays. I think he is a football investigator, so putting him at safety at times can help him. But because he also is so instinctive, he can play nickel and still make a lot of plays at nickel where everything happens really fast, and you have to have a defensive back there who's comfortable in chaos, can almost be an agent of chaos. Because the closer you are to the football, the quicker everything happens. And you're essentially working in kind of working in the multiverse when you're at nickel. Because sometimes you might be taking on, a H-back or a tight end or a pulling lineman in the run game. You could be blitzing one down. The next down, you could be playing man-to-man on the best receiver on the team in the slot with a two-way go. You could be playing zone coverage, dropping back in zone coverage, having to defend a dual-threat quarterback who's scrambling when the play breaks down. There's just so many situations down to down you could end up being in that is so very different. I'm at corner. I'm pretty much in the same situation 85% of the game. I'm just trying. It's all about, for me, replicating the perfect rep over and over again, right? Whether you're talking about my hand placement and my footwork at the line of scrimmage, playing bump and run coverage, or the way that I read a 3-step drop and read my keys and my progression as a DB, I'm pretty much going through the same progression and reps and method every time. At nickel, you may play 8 to 10 straight downs and not do the same thing on any one of those downs. and you have and I think it works that way I think at safety, you just have more time to process and you have a better vision of the field, so you can gather more clues. So if you're a football investigator, the more clues you have, the better you're going to be at solving the crime, solving the play. And, I think that's why Jalen Petrie there, he also can make plays. I compare it to Quandre Diggs all the time. Jahdae Barron's the same way, right? Jahdae Barron at nickel, I think he can make a lot of plays there because he's got great instincts, is what you need at nickel, because everything's happening fast. At safety, you need high football IQ. You need a guy with really good high football intelligence, because they're going to have the best view of the field. And so if they can diagnose the route combinations, if they can narrow down the plays that the offense is going to present to you, they can be really effective in playing the chess match with the opposing quarterback within the game. And at corner, you just need somebody that can be a freak athlete. You need somebody that can just straight up go one-on-one with their best athletes, down for down on the boundary, track meet, whatever it's going to be. So I just think at all those positions, secondary, there's something else that I would prioritize. Of course, you want somebody with all those things, but you want to prioritize different things, those positions. And my point, going back to Jalen Petrie, he's got the instincts and he's got the football IQ. So he can play safety or nickel, which is where they're working him now. Andrew Beck had a calf injury he was dealing with, so missed some time. They haven't had any really serious injuries with the Texans. He missed some time, but he's back with the team and practicing. Well, going to be really interesting to see if they go back to as much 21 personnel they did last year, using a fullback or a tight end. Because now they have Stephon Diggs, and the belief is they're going to put those 3 wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, and Nico Collins, on the field together as much as possible. Christian Harris, strangely enough, a linebacker, he has not practiced. He's with the team. He's there, but he isn't practicing, and they're not being very forthcoming about what's going on with an injury with him, but he has not practiced. Joe Mixon also has not practiced in a while. At first, he came out to practice during the start of training camp. He did practice, but he has not been a full participant since the first couple of days of training camp. So he's got, I think it was a hamstring issue, I believe it is. Jawad Jordan is working with the twos. He's the running back they drafted. So he's been getting a lot of reps now that Joe Mixon is not a full participant in practice. Also, the Texans learned that Danico Autry, we talked about this earlier, Patrick and I, that he has been suspended for violation of the performance enhancing rules of the NFL. So he is suspended for 6 games. And remember, that's a guy that had 11 and a half sacks for the Titans last year. So they're expecting him to come in and be a huge difference maker. I even found the stat that if you look at teams since 1982 that have added in the offseason, players who have double-digit sacks, so basically a team that has added 2 defenders with double-digit sacks, it's only happened one other time since 1982, and it was the 1994 49ers, who won the Super Bowl, by the way. Not saying Texans are going to do that, who added Richard Dent and Ricky Jackson. Ricky Jackson had 11 and a half sacks. Richard Dent had 12 and a half. And Danico Autry had 11 and a half sacks last year. Danielle Hunter had 16 and a half. So Texans adding those caliber pass rushers in the offseason is not very common, very rare. And the Texans pulled it off this past offseason. So they're going to miss Danico Autry, but he'll be fresh and should be really fresh for a push once he comes back from suspension. Also,
also throw into that, you also got to remember, this is also a team that drafted a top defensive edge a year before too. So adding a lot of sacks and hope to have a Will Anderson take another step forward to add even more sack ability to that defense.
No, you're right.
Because you're saying this is a year 2 guy that you drafted 3rd overall.
And what did he have, 9.5 last year?
Yeah.
Something like that. I want to say he was close to 10 last year. That's a great point. Yeah, okay. He had Will Anderson last season. It says here, 9.5 sacks. 9.5 sacks during his first season. Yeah, he had 22 quarterback hits, tied for 17th among defenders, and 9.5 sacks during his first season. He had he had 17 pressures and 11 quarterback hits within 2.5 seconds. Those 11 hits tied for 6th if you're looking at in that time span. So, yeah, he's expected to be a double-digit sack guy too.
Yeah.
So that's a great point, Patrick. I didn't think about that. Damn. So, man, that does suck not having Autry, because now you're supposed to have Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson on the edges, and then a dynamic pass rusher inside too.
Yes.
So pick your poison. Who you gonna double? You gonna double Danielle Hunter, or you gonna double the young buck Will Anderson? And if you do, then Danico Autry's gonna eat inside. If you double both of them, then hell, you're definitely going to be outnumbered because you're going to have one-on-ones with very unathletic interior offensive linemen with Danico Autry. So, no, good point there. I didn't think about that, Patrick. All right, I think that's about it for our Texans training camp nuggets. Jumping over to the Cowboys here, Clarence Hill did report, or at least he tweeted. Tweets are reports these days. He did tweet earlier that there's no deal done between Dak and CD, but they're closer to a CD deal than you are to a Dak deal. I think it's because they're prioritizing the CD deal because CD is holding out and Dak is there. And also, I think they know what Dak's number is going to be, and nobody can change the Dak number except for Mahomes. Mahomes is the only guy that can come in and change it right now, right? I mean, who else is going to come close to the 55? Well, I said that, and Jordan Love hit the $55 million mark, and so did Trevor Lawrence. So we'll see, but that's what was reported by Clarence Hill, Fort Worth Telegram. Also, it is being reported that DeMarvion Overshown looks really good in training camp, and he has had reps with the first team. That's really important because the Cowboys need these last 2 draft classes to show up. That one a couple of years ago with Mozzie Smith and Schoonmaker, DeMarvion Overshown, it dealt with a lot of injuries, and with them potentially having to pay top dollar for 3 premier positions, pass rusher, wide receiver, and quarterback, they're gonna need some discount. They're gonna need talent outperforming their contracts at a discounted rate, and that's why they need those 2 draft classes to really show up for them. So there you go. Also, there is discussion about, and we'll get into this. I guess maybe we can get into this next week or something. There is a lot of discussion for the Cowboys right now on the defensive side of things about the injury they just had to Sam Williams. Remember, they just drafted a defensive end, Nealon, in the second round. So there's a lot of discussion about he may be. They have to expedite his development. So we can get into that a little bit next week. I'll have some notes on it and some ideas. But yeah, Sam Williams, remember, he was drafted by Dan Quinn to be kind of a hybrid guy too, that can move around and do some things. So they got to figure out a plan at the edge position. They got guys, DeMarcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons are the guys, but in terms of the depth at the edge position.
Well, and I think too, there was some thought of, okay, well, if we're going to pay these guys and then DeMarcus Lawrence is going to have to be a cap casualty at some point, this is the year. Can we see if Sam Williams is going to be able to ascend into that starting role alongside Micah Parsons on the other side? And now you set back that development a season. And so you said, well, we'll draft Nealon and we'll get him ready. And then when Sam Williams is our one side, and then we'll have Nealon as our kind of third guy, and it'll all work. And then you have one injury, and that plan all goes to crap. And so now you need Marshawn Nealon to step up, because if he can step up and be the third guy, then maybe he gets put into that role of being the starter next year. But it seems like this will probably be the last year of DeMarcus Lawrence, just because of the cap space that they're going to have. And, they've talked about it. They have to, if they re-sign all of their guys, some people have to go.
Yeah, and you're right. They got some veterans like DeMarcus Lawrence, Zach Martin, I think maybe in that category too.
Yeah, but DeMarcus Lawrence, especially, they drafted relatively high
defensive
two
ends.
defensive ends. Right. So it would tell you that this has been the plan.
Yeah, no doubt. No, you're right about that. That has been, and I agree with you on that 100%. And you're right about the Sam Williams thing. That does kind of disrupt their developmental pipeline at that position. And then they lost Dorrance Armstrong, and he was one of the guys they had been developing for years. And Dan Quinn ended up picking him up with Washington when he went there. And also, he was a Dante Fowler. I think
Dante Fowler Jr. Yeah, he went out there too. But I mean, it's a lot with Overshawn. Was their plan was to move on from the guy who just retired due to injury, Leighton Vander Esch, was to bring in Overshawn, and then that got delayed a year because of injury. And it's just, it's not a unique problem to the Cowboys, but it is something where when you really need your draft picks to hit, trying to keep that window open, they've just had some poor injury luck with some of those young guys.
Yeah, no, you're right. That class, that Mozzie Smith, because there was some talk now that Mozzie Smith may have had some stuff going on personal or maybe injury-wise. Schoonmaker couldn't stay healthy. DeMarvin Overshawn got hurt. So if that group comes on this year and they can get some positive returns from that draft class, that'll help the Cowboys tremendously. All right, let's talk about the Cowboys, the disrespect to Dak from the Get Up crew. So Get Up has Dan Orlovsky was on there. And he was Mike Greenberg is on there. There's some other guys. I can't name the whole crew. They had like 3 or 4 on there at a time. But Dan Orlovsky's naming his top 5 quarterbacks in the NFC. And I don't know if he intentionally or unintentionally, sounds like unintentionally even, he disrespected Dak Prescott. And they brought it up on the show. Here is what they had to say on Get Up about Dak.
I would right now, if you asked me to rank the NFC quarterbacks, it's Matthew Stafford 1. I would probably put Jordan Love at 2 and Brock Purdy at 3. But if you flip-flop those guys for me, I would have no argument on that. I'd probably put Kirk Cousins at 4 and Jared Goff at 5. So Love is on his way. The 9-game stretch, he was one of the best quarterbacks in all of football. But Stafford is still
where the hell
at
is
the top.
Dak Prescott, Dan?
I was about to say, I didn't. Did you purposely leave out Dak? Did you just overlook Dak Prescott? I mean,
who are you putting Dak over? You going to put him over Jared Goff?
You tell me. You would take. I mean, Harry.
Did he just say all of them?
Does Dak? I mean, Dak wasn't he runner-up for MVP last year?
MVP of the league at one point last year.
Yeah,
he had a great season last.
People seem flabbergasted. Literally, like, are you serious? What's going on here? But I would say that we had a very similar conversation yesterday about Dak and Jared Goff. Now, I would put Dak in the top 5 in the NFC. But we did have I wonder where I'd put Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff would be in there too. I think they'd both be. I probably would kick Kirk Cousins out.
I would kick Kirk Cousins out, and I'd still
probably kick Purdy out.
I push Purdy at least down
toward the back. Yeah,
because I like Brock Purdy, but if you talk about guys who have proven it and done it, that guy has every single toy you could want, He has the best running back in the league. He's got Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. He's got the one tight end.
1,000-yard tight end.
The 1,000-yard tight end last season, and George Kittle. He's also got probably the best left tackle in the league as well, and Trent Williams. Like, there's a lot of pieces that guy has, and one of the best offensive minds in the league calling the plays. Yep. So all of those pieces together help him out a little bit more than when you can say a lot of good things about what Dak's got. He's got CeeDee Lamb, but he doesn't have a running back. His left tackle was in and out last season. He's a good player, but he's not, the best left tackle in the league. Brandon Cooks is good, but it's not like Ayuk, who's going to get $30 million this offseason.
You're right.
I
agree with you.
The tight end, we all like Jake Ferguson a lot. He's not George Kittle.
No.
So so if you just put it in that situation, and then you can say Dak still had a better regular season than
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy.
Well, because he's an all-pro. I mean, he was second-team all-pro, and I think he finished second in MVP voting. So
he did.
That's why it's disrespect, Dan Orlovsky, to not put Dak in the top 5 after last season. And I think ultimately, like I said, we saw this too. Remember, Jeremy Fowler had his insiders survey from scouts and execs and coaches, and they also voted Dak 10th on that list. Remember, he was the 10th best quarterback, even after his best season ever. So there's a little bit of Dak disrespect going on out there. That's all right. I mean, Dak's cool with it. That's what I think. It's almost like you feel like there's a stigma attached to you, even as a veteran in the league, of still being a 4th-round pick. And I've talked about that.
Yeah.
Like he's still a lot of people looking at he's limited because there's a reason he was a 4th-round pick.
And I mean, there is always a what have you done for me lately, that by week 10, 12, Dak Prescott will be in that conversation where they'll have on Get Up, the conversation is Dak Prescott a top 3 quarterback in the NFL? And then as soon as he gets knocked out of the playoffs again, well, should Dak Prescott even be allowed to touch a football ever again in his life? There's those it is always, you get knocked out and you have a really bad last game. The last image anybody has of you is playing really bad football. And I mean, the rest of the Cowboys did too. It wasn't just Dak, but I can see why you may have that look on, why Dan Orlovsky may say, well, I saw Jordan Love beat Dak Prescott, so I'm going to put him above him. I saw Jared Goff in the title game, so I'm going to put him above him. The last image I saw of Kirk Cousins was regular season, and now he's in Atlanta, so I'm going to say good things about him because I didn't see him fail in the playoffs this season. And then Brock Purdy, I saw him make it to a Super Bowl. So all these other guys, the last image I saw, other than Kirk Cousins, which wasn't even a bad image, it was just he was hurt. Then
recency bias.
It's recency bias. Yeah.
Yeah, could be. Could be that. Yeah, but do better, Dan Orlovsky, because I like Dan Orlovsky.
He knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing. Trolling Cowboys fans is fun because there are a lot of them and they're very passionate and they fall for it every time. Just like Longhorn fans, we fall for it every time.
98 on Madden speed. Come on.
Every time. Okay, Cowboys. Here we have time to play this clip from Cowboys training camp from Shan Sharif. He talks about the fatigue potentially at Cowboys training camp. And now it may be something nationally people fed up with what they're getting from the Dallas Cowboys.
Sean Sharif here with a 105 Through the Fan training camp confessional. And the confessional is we may have an interest problem, not just back home in the Metroplex, but out here in California. It's dead out here, y'all. And it's been like this. Mike Leslie tweeted out the picture. It kind of blew up. Hang on.
3rd and 11.
Thank you, Coach. Maybe years and years and years of the Cowboys coming up short have finally caught up with them, along with this really frustrating offseason. So my confessional from out here at practice today, it looks like the Cowboy fan depression has hit Cali as well.
Oh, all right. So there you go. That's the Cowboys inside there at Cowboys training camp telling you that there's not a lot of buzz about the Cowboys. I will throw this out there. This is a lesson they need to learn. I saw that DJ Moore signed a new deal, 4 years, $110 million, most expensive deal and most valuable and most lucrative deal, I should say, for any wide receiver in Chicago Bears history. He now is the 7th highest paid receiver. Just think about this real quickly. This is how Jerry Jones screwed up the CeeDee Lamb negotiation and miscalculated the market. Nico Collins signed his deal with the Texans 2 months ago He was the 7th highest paid receiver in the NFL at the time. Right now, he's 10th. 2 months later, he went from 7 to 10. In another 2 months, a month, he'll be at 12 or so when Ayuk and CeeDee Lamb get their deals. Somebody else get theirs, he'll be at 13. He's a top 10 in terms of productivity, a top 10 wide receiver who's going to be outperforming his second contract with the Texans. That's how you get value. And I'm not saying CeeDee Lamb would have been that because CeeDee Lamb's going to be top of the market money. But you would have saved a little bit of money if you'd have signed CeeDee earlier. One quick nugget. Prior to this offseason, one wide receiver was making over $28 million per year. Now, 5 are making over $28 million per year. Prior to this offseason, 0 wide receivers, not one, had a $75 million guaranteed in their contract. Now, 4 of them do. Procrastination is a bad business practice, and hope floats, but it ain't a strategy. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into who said that on the other side. That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes from beyond the sports world. And based on the context clues or based on the familiarity of the voice, you have to identify and recall who said that. We'll have that right back when we're coming back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a One Artist Wednesday edition of the Rodcast. That's when Patrick Davis, my co-host, and the Idillionaire goes deep into the catalog, down the rabbit hole of one specific artist or a group or a band, and they become the feature of One Artist Wednesday. And the feature for this One Artist Wednesday, Def Leppard. Great choice by my man.
Which we didn't even get into. Do you know what's unique about the drummer for Def Leppard?
I do not.
While he was in the band, so not every album, he played with one arm. He lost his arm in a car wreck. He lost an arm, stayed in the band, learned how to play with one arm and using his feet, you doing triggers. Wow. Plays with one arm.
No. We definitely should have given that more. Should have given airtime. I mean, I did not realize. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yes.
Is that? I mean, how long did it take him? What was the injury?
He was in a car wreck.
In a car wreck.
You know, it's being in a popular band and maybe making some bad decisions.
One arm drummer.
Yeah, Rick Allen.
How is that not more of a common, more known It's factoid.
It is for Def Leppard people and people in the rock and roll and metal, and they all know that.
That should transcend just Def Leppard fans.
Yeah.
That should be like something known for all music fans. At one point, that was a one arm.
I mean, he still plays with one arm. Like he still tours with Def Leppard and plays with one arm.
Wow, that's exceptional. I'd never heard that story before. Now I'm fascinated. Now I want to know more. Now I'm gonna look at. There's a documentary about it. What's his name?
Rick Allen.
Rick Allen?
Rick Allen.
Rick Allen. All right. I'm going to look up Rick Allen now. I'll have to do some cyber stalking. The one-armed drummer. That is fascinating. All right. I like that. That's a good story to end the show on, though. The power of the human spirit, right? The
yes, overcoming.
Yes, beautiful thing. All right, let's get to before we get out of here. Let's get to Who Said That. That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio, sometimes from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world, and then based on some of the context clues or based on the familiarity of the voice itself. Hopefully, you can recall and identify who said that.
Who was your first cartoon crush?
Storm. We'll go with Storm.
Cool. Never really been into cartoons like that.
Impossible.
Nah, I love Daffy Ducks or whoever he liked. Sure.
Jessica Rabbit.
Who is that? Wow, put the picture up. I don't know cartoons like that.
Mrs. Incredible.
Dr. Doofenshmirtz' daughter. Magenta, Blue's Clues.
Jessica Rabbit. Like Betty Boop or Betty Bop, something like that.
Lola Bunny.
It's like Kim Possible, I said.
I ain't got one. A cartoon, that's a little different right there.
Kim Possible. That's easy. Jasmine.
I don't think I had one.
Oh, Raven from Teen Titans.
My Life is a Teenage Robot. I used to watch that all the time.
I don't really got no cartoon crush, but celebrity crush, Rihanna.
This is getting weird. These questions are getting wild. Lola Bunny, Space Jam.
Probably Kim Possible, sure.
Lola Bunny.
Hey. No, not Kim Possible. What's the other one? She-Go. Yeah.
Who was your first cartoon crush?
Ooh, Roxanne from Goofy Movie. So fast, but if you know, you know.
That is at Dallas Cowboys training camp asking the players who's your first cartoon crush. I would probably go with I'd probably go with Jessica Rabbit for me. Yeah, probably go with that one.
I mean, she's the most woman one of them, I think, of a lot of them.
Yeah, but I was into remember Shatara from Thundercats?
Yeah,
man, she had a nice shape on her.
Yeah,
she was nice.
You know who I want to hear answer this question though? Jamal Williams.
Wow.
I feel because he has the craziest answers to everything now, and I just want to hear him answer questions like this because I guarantee he could list you like his top 20 anime favorite,
and he'd have like a reason behind all of them too.
Exactly.
Like, do you ever see the episode 36? She actually, you can see the cleavage. And I'm like, okay, all right, it's enough. All right, thanks, Patrick, for everything you do. Thanks, my man Nick Shuley. Thanks you all out there for listening. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We're talking about it right here on the Rodcast. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Until next time, hook 'em and peace.